This is Monday Motorsport with Lester Forbes on Motorsport Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Monday Motorsport. My name is Lester. This is Motorsport Radio. It's the June of the 5th of... that took me by surprise. That was in my ear. I was not welcome at all. So, yes, hello there. Exactly. Motorsport Radio. And, it's the 5th of June 2017 already. Would you believe? Indeed. So my name is Lester. This is Monday Motorsport, and joining me for tonight on the show, we have a full panel of experts and guests, starting off with Connor Jackson from the Checkered Flag website, and also podcast host for the Slipstream Network as well. Hello, good evening, Connor.
Hello, Lester. It's good to see you again, and it's good to be back on Monday Motorsport.
Indeed, yes. It's fantastic to have you back as well. And also, joining us for tonight's programme, it is Dan Marr as well. He has a logo. He has a name.
My name is Dan.
Exactly, yeah. And also, as well, making his debut as well. Please make him feel welcome, because he's a fantastic journalist as well, and he's from Wales. Not that that has anything to do with anything, but those two things are both true. Please welcome Ryan Forward.
Hi everybody, hi.
Hello there, Ryan. So just explain to everybody who you are, what you do, and where we can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, so my name is Ryan. Basically, what I've done now it's been about 4 years actually. I've been doing it is share news about Welsh motorsport, so promoting all the Welsh drivers, the Welsh teams, Welsh events, Welsh circuits, basically everything to do with Welsh motorsport, from the big guys like Charles Davis, Seb Morris, etc., all the way down to club motorsport levels as well. And you can find me on Twitter at Welsh Motorsport. And also on Motorsport in Wales, search it as well.
Fantastic stuff, and I do certainly urge you to do check out the Twitter, and I will put a link to it on the show's page as well, and on our website as well, motorsport-radio.com, the place where you can find lots of motorsport videos as well. Yes, that's right. Motorsport Radio has tons of videos, believe it or not, because they're good. Why not? But it's just stuff that we found, and we thought we'd share them with you. So, hey ho, why not? That's the place to go. Motorsport-radio.com /video to watch loads of videos, and also to join in the community and get involved in lots of debate and chat. It's kind of a small community at the moment, small and cozy, I'd say, but over the season, over the years, I suppose coming, that will grow, I suppose, as people unleash their opinions onto the Motorsport Radio channels, I suppose. So coming up tonight on this programme, we will have a lot of talk about the touring cars, about British GT and F3 that's coming up this weekend. They are at Silverstone, and Formula 1. Can't forget Formula 1. And also, we will be hearing from Jessica Hawkins, who I caught up with yesterday. And she's on a bit of a run at the moment in the Minis, having won 4 out of the first 6 races in the championship. She's racing on the MSVR club racing package, which were racing yesterday at Silverstone. And also at Silverstone at the weekend, making his racing debut, it was MSV Clark in training, long-time marshal, and now, I suppose, racing driver John Provost. We'll be hearing from him. I basically followed him around all weekend to get his thoughts on how his weekend went in his first ever motor race. Really, we'll be hearing from him throughout the show, and later, coming up, we will hear from Kiko Alexander-Giles as we talk TT and find out all the latest that's been happening in the Isle of Man with regards to the races, the gossip, the news, and everything that you need to know. And a big review on what happened in Italy in MotoGP, Moto2 and Moto3 at the weekend. So, a lot to get through, I suppose. We will... so I suppose it's only right that we start off with the biggest, most breakingest of news. That is a word, I'm sure. In touring cars, the BTCC, there's been some big dramatic news, Dan, that Dan Lloyd and MG have parted ways. What's going on?
Yeah, it was a big story that only came out about a couple of hours ago. What happened was I saw the statement released on Facebook, and as you say, Daniel Lloyd and MG have parted company due to a further statement issued by Daniel Lloyd. He suggested some of his sponsors had pulled out because of the lack of success with the MG for this season, which has meant that they've not been able to run up the front. They've been really competitive. The MG has been very competitive throughout the years. But the rocky start we've seen to this season, which let's not forget, it's all intermingled, the AAA racing squad alongside BMR. So that's a whole different conversation. But the lack of success that they've been having has meant several of Dan's sponsors have pulled out, which has now meant that once again he's without a ride. And it's a massive shame because Daniel Lloyd, we all say it in the paddock, he is a massive talent, and it is a shame that he's going to be on the sidelines. But these things happen at the end of the day. Sponsors pulling out, not enough exposure. I don't want to suggest it, but you got to suggest it. It's an age-old case in motor racing, isn't it?
Unfortunately, I mean, I did try and reach out to Dan before we came on air, and obviously he's not willing to talk about the news, and understandably, because he doesn't want to talk about it. It's not good news. Why would you? He has released a statement, and he put a link to the statement and emailed all the people that are on his email list, really. The statement says, amongst other things, that this was a big investment year for me and my backers. I was so excited to have joined MG for 2017. Unfortunately, as you said, Dan, the results have led to us already losing a number of sponsors for this season, and has forced us to make a very difficult decision to walk away from BTCC for the time being. Interesting.
Can I just say... it turns out Daniel Lloyd's actually put something on Facebook as well, just to clear something up, as I've seen a lot of comments blaming the decision on financial issues, which isn't right. I wanted to make the point in the press release that I'm bringing funds to the team, as 95% of the drivers do in BTCC. However, this doesn't work when you don't have the results to shout about and capitalise on. The story might be a little confusing, but I just wanted to clear that up.
It is confusing because he contradicts himself, apparently, according to what you just said, Dan, because sponsors pulling out would suggest that the money's disappeared as well. And for him to say that, I can understand him going on the defensive, because people like to... fans are very passionate, especially touring car fans as well. Ryan, what do you make of tonight's shock news that Daniel Lloyd, for the time being, he says, is no longer a touring car driver?
Yeah, come a bit out of the blue, that did, didn't it? The MGs, they've had a difficult start this season. They've been struggling to get into the top 10, or struggling, to even get out of the top 20 some races. I think particularly they struggled at. MG's always been an inconsistent car. Sometimes it's fast at some tracks, but on other tracks it's way behind. Dan Lloyd's a super talented driver. It's going to be a shame to lose him from the British touring car grid. I remember when he was driving for the Eurotech Civic, and he was way up the front end of grading, qualifying a couple of races. When you're fighting for results down the back end of the grid, again, there's much exposure on the television, because obviously touring cars are televised, and the sponsor obviously chosen to pull out for those reasons, it's a shame, because like I said earlier, Dan's a super talented driver, so it's a big loss to the BTCC.
It is. Sorry, Lester, just to interject, that I don't suppose it would have helped his big crash back at Thruxton a couple of weeks ago, which more or less wrote the car off. I think that's a substantial amount of damage. If that didn't happen, we might not be having this conversation right now. You
think so?
Well, you've got to think it to an extent, haven't you? Because we see a lot in motor racing that drivers will pull out because of unexpected crashes. I know in the touring cars especially, you've got to budget for replacement doors, replacement anything basically, but a crash of that velocity that might not have helped the budget. I'm not suggesting that's the core reason. As you say, sponsors pulling out are still sponsors pulling out, or allegedly sponsors pulling out, but at the end of the day, as you say, it's a shame to lose him off the grid, but circumstances have never been on Dan's side. But we've seen when he, as you say, the Eurotech Honda, he was on it. But we've seen with BMR this year that they've just seemed to have struggled all over the board this year.
It has been a bit of a shame. If it was all about results, then yeah, it's a shame either way, results or sponsors pulling out. But I thought that's kind of what contracts were for, to be honest, to basically seal in sponsors for a certain period of time and not have them flee at the first sign of a crash, for example, like the big crash that Dan had. Ryan, do you think that's the case, perhaps?
Well, it probably does have some kind of a knock-on effect. I don't think it's exactly just that cause alone, but it probably did have some kind of effect on the decisions as well. But yeah, I don't think the accident alone is the full reason for it. I just think that British touring cars is becoming expensive to run cars in British touring cars now to be competitive. You have to have a lot of money, and if sponsors sign up to a team, they want to get as much exposure as possible for their business. And if those results are not coming and the exposure is not coming through lack of results, then sponsors are going to pull out. And like I said, it's expensive. You need those sponsors to go racing.
Dan, and I mentioned this only very sort of briefly the other week, but could the huge grids in touring cars actually be a bad thing? Because you're watching on ITV4 live and free, of course, every round, and there's so much stuff that happens in a touring car race. You only get to see one little part of that, and that could be a fight for the lead, a fight for an interesting fight for 10th place, for example, or it could be basically you're only able to watch one thing at a time. So do you think it could be the case that too much of a grid right now in 2017 is putting sponsors off because they're not getting value for money, i.e. airtime, and their sponsors' logos on TV?
I don't believe that, no, because it can't just be the fact that I know TV is always going to be a massive factor, but you've still got to take into account the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who go trackside every year to go and watch this racing. It's an interesting one, as you say. Personally, I think the grids are too large at the moment anyway, regardless of funding, regardless of this, that and the other. But it won't be helping the results, as you say. But we look at certain teams, certain cars, you'll see there's a lot of them. And as you say, but it can't just be about the big manufacturers, because some of the manufacturers have struggled profusely this year. We look at the likes of Josh Crook & Co., who are really up there fighting for it, going really well in a independent car. So the cars, I do agree to an extent with what Ryan said, because the cars aren't cheap to run, but they're not as expensive as S2000. They weren't anywhere near as expensive as Super Touring. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive. That's why we've got 32 cars out on there, because people have got money to race these cars. The exposure is an interesting one, and in an ideal world would say, well, that could be the reason, but there's got to be more to it than that. I don't fully believe that the only issue is going to be down to funding, and I'm not trying to suggest that could be. It could be a big conspiracy theory. I'm not trying to suggest that, but personally, I don't believe that purely 32 cars on the grid is withdrawing money from sponsors, because we're seeing team sponsors paying more and more for more and more cars. So, fair play. It's down to personal preference, but it's an interesting one. We're going to have to get to the bottom of this story. And of course, this weekend, British Touring Cars at Croft. So, we're going to have to go and deputise someone to go and find out for us, I think.
Yeah, that will, I suppose, if there is an alternative conspiracy theory, as Dan kind of touched on, if that is the case at all, then it will all come out in due course, perhaps over this weekend. Dan did be, he did be, that's the nice bit of English, Dan Lloyd was recently racing in China with some GT stuff.
Shall I look for you?
Yes. It seemed a strange decision at the time. Not necessarily a bad decision, but just out of nowhere, out of the blue. And I've completely forgot what the championship. It wasn't like Asian Blancpain or Blancpain Asia, was it? Might have been, could be. I don't know.
I'm looking now,
but it was for Ford, and I think it was announced like a couple of days before the race actually happened, and he flew out and he announced it by way of like him standing in a suit, looking all happy and smiling.
Yes.
And he thanked
Chinese touring cars.
That's the one. Chinese touring cars. And it seemed like a bit of a strange decision to have MG let him do that. So I don't know. Perhaps that combined with maybe the big crash as well, combined with sponsors just getting a bit of cold feet, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe the whole thing, just little things like that, just added up to mean that he can no longer compete for now in the BTCC. But maybe we'll see him back. Maybe he'll be back in a Porsche somewhere, or maybe even in British GT.
I wouldn't put it past him if he was, but I'll tell you what. You say about your Chinese touring car thing, that's an interesting one to go into, because of course Anna Morgan's raced out there before. We've seen several people going out there and racing before in the Chinese touring cars. It's a very competitive series, but Adam raced last year in a VW.
Are you reading this off Wikipedia?
No, I'm reading this off another touring car related website, but okay. See, I get my news, alternate news from somewhere. But anyway, the point I'm making is it is an interesting one because it's MG's prime territory. I don't think it's going to be a big consideration, considering how much Dan said he loved representing the brand, doing all the Q&A stuff for the brand at the circuits and outer circuits. But it's an interesting one. But again, we need to go away and analyse it. But it's a shame, as you say, Daniel Lloyd's not there. But I do think there could be a late gasp run in the British GT. I mean, there's a couple of seats potentially running around for this weekend's meeting. We've seen 2 announcements already today, which we'll get onto later, but who knows?
Indeed, yes. We will talk British GT for a short while, and also British F3 in just a moment as well, because it's something that Connor Jackson follows. As do I, as well. I keep my eye on that. And I was going to play you some footage that I got of the F3 Cup cars at Silverstone yesterday. I was very lucky enough to be standing on the the pit gantry start light place where the
start lights.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where the photographer people go and take their nice photography shots, and a load of old F3 cars. Not real F3 cars, starting a race. It was pretty, if you've never seen it before, or never experienced, or never stood literally over them as they started a race, then you're missing out. I don't know what I can say other than that. But I can't recommend you do it, because you probably won't be allowed to do it. But anyway, so we will come to the British GT Championship and the breaking news, I suppose, that's been breaking today with Dan Marr, who will be at Silverstone this weekend, as will Connor Jackson as well. And I won't, but I'll get on to that in a bit. But first, here is our first of a few different interviews with Mr. Jonathon Provost. He is an MSV marshal, and a marshal in general, really. He's part of the Orange Army. He's training to be a clerk of the course as well. He's going through different modules over the course of this season to be the motor racing equivalent of a football referee, I suppose. So I can't quite understand why he'd want to do that, because they never ever get thanked for it, do they? Just like referees, nobody ever says, "You know what, ref, that was a great game today." No, they always seem to kind of get abuse from drivers and stuff. But hey ho, that's what he wants to do. And he's only 19 as well, or he was last time I looked. So that would probably make him, if he becomes a clerk of the course, he would be the youngest in the country, which is quite a magnificent achievement. And also, he at the weekend became a racing driver. His first ever racing weekend, and I caught up with him and followed him around. And this is the first of a few different interviews following him after each session. And this is me catching up with him, and here he is introducing himself. I'm here with John Provost. Hello, John.
Hello.
John, you're making your racing debut this weekend in the SsangYong Racing Challenge. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, so a few months ago, back in November, Diana from SsangYong went on one of their taster days. From there, me and Diana talked a bit, and thankfully got out for this round as well as Cadwell at the end of the year. So hopefully we'll be doing a few more as well along the year.
Well, what have you been doing up until now, anyway? You've always been a racing enthusiast, but in particular, what have you been doing to hone your racing skills?
Well, I started as a marshal on the bank, and then I'm also starting as a probationary clerk last year with MSVR, so always out of the fence today. Yeah. And
lots of sim racing as well, I understand.
Yeah, a lot of sim racing, a lot of preparation for here. There's not really a model like a SsangYong, but do what you can and just learn the circuit and learn the lines. But yeah, a good few months on the sim to preparation as well.
So I guess we'll follow your progress through the weekend to see just what happens. We'll be getting some in-car footage as well, so we'll be playing a bit of that. But John, tell us more about these cars. Not many people know about, well, they're trucks, they're actual pickup trucks rather than cars. Not many people, to be fair, know about SsangYong Muso cars, and not mooses as I've been calling them. But yeah, just tell us about them, what they're like to drive. Obviously these ones are going to be different to the road cars, but just how different are they?
They're actually very similar to a road car. They are a brilliant fun drive though. They're exactly like a road car, except the fact that they've got power flex dampers, brake pads is changed, wheels and tyres, and the safety kit. Other than that, it's a road going version. Powerflex made an amazing job on the dampers. It's planted in the corners, easily controllable, but controlling the wheel spin on the exit is the main thing. But it's brilliant fun to drive.
And you are also in training at the moment to become one of the youngest clerks of the course in the UK with MSV.
Yeah, that's a journey now, about a year into the training, but absolutely loving that as well. It's completely different what I'm doing today, and it's weird not being in race control doing stuff over the weekend, but yeah, definitely enjoying it.
I'm sure they'll be absolutely loving it upstairs, watching you like an absolute hawk. Any driver penalties or any track limits will be, I'm sure they'll come down on you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I've already talked to some of them and they said don't be watching your track limits and stuff like that, so yeah, they're all watching me, but yeah.
Yeah, and just it's kind of an unusual sort of thing to see the sort of progression as well. Not many people your age go on from becoming a flag marshal, which of course is hugely popular in this country. But not many people actually want to take that step up to becoming a more senior sort of official. Or I didn't even know you could even progress to becoming a trainee clerk of the course.
Yeah, so starting when I was marshalling back in 2009, I've always been interested in the operations of race control. When I was a cadet marshal, couldn't go out on track, so I was in the paddock, I was in race control, watching what they do, and I just fell in love with what they do and the organisation behind it. I didn't know that was there until I've been to a race event. You don't even know it's going on, but the amount of that stuff that happens in race control, I don't think many fans know. It's not just drop a flag and go. There's a lot more detail than that. But yeah, the journey has been brilliant fun.
And you've still got a couple of months to go. I think you're training for the rest of 2017, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, hoping to get all my modular training sections done by the end of the year. So hopefully going into New Year, I'll be fully licensed National B Clark, of course. So hopefully that's the plan so far, but it's taking each event as it goes and learn. The main thing is learning from the experience of the event. It could be a simple club event to a bigger event, but it's all experience. Every event is completely different from the next, and there's no two events that I've ever had that are the same, and I've learnt so much in each one of them.
Making your debut this weekend, but already sort of, I suppose, setting the standards with your clerk of the course training as well, because people will be looking towards you to. You'll be the example, I suppose, in how to drive safely and cleanly. That being said, though, we've not had any racing on track yet.
No, we'll see how that goes. Take qualifying and see where we are. Testing yesterday was good, getting used to the car and the track, but see, qualifying going to establish how much to push, or how not to push. But hopefully I'm up there, hopefully up there somewhere. But it's been, qualifying was an eye opener as well. And from a Clarkin side of view, it's good to see in car as well, because you don't realise the blind spots you actually have. So from a Clarkin point of view, it's helped me massively as well to know. You need to know that driver's side as well. So I think going forward, possibly in the next year or so, if I don't end up racing fully in the series, hopefully I'll be able to Clark it and use my driver experience from that, hopefully.
And you are also making your debut as an openly gay racing driver as well, which is unusual in itself. Perhaps not newsworthy, who knows, that's for other people to decide. But it is, I would say, noteworthy at least, just for the fact that there are just so few openly gay and LGBT people in motorsport. There are possibly probably more female openly gay and LGBT race drivers in this country than there are men, and you don't seem to have an issue racing as an openly gay man.
No, I think there is a stigma against it about it in motorsport. It's dying off, I believe. I don't promote the fact. It's not who I am. It's a part of me, sort of thing. So it's just one thing that happens, and I think if people know, they know. If they don't, it doesn't really matter to me.
It's a good attitude to have, I suppose, but I was racking my brain and thinking, well, I can't think of, apart from some of the female LGBT racers that are like very much like yourself, John, who really don't seem to care whether other people know it or not. But I can't remember there being anybody else at this moment in time who is openly gay. Maybe there are, and I don't know it. I don't know. Not that it's even an issue, like you said. So, but I just thought it was a noteworthy thing to say, and I congratulate you anyway on your courage for at least admitting that and racing as an openly gay man. So yeah, well done for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was John Provost talking to me at the weekend at Silverstone as he was making his, as quite eloquently pointed out multiple times, his debut in a race car in the SsangYong Musso Pickup Challenge, which is an interesting championship. I think it's a series. It might be a championship. We'll call it a series for now, because I'm not sure if it's a championship. Anyway, but yeah, the SsangYong Pickup Challenge, and those things are interesting. Quite a lot of talented drivers in there. In that, although it's racing on the MSVR club package, it's not full of. There seems to be different types of drivers racing in there, if you know what I mean. Is that polite to say that? Anyway, I should move on quickly before I say something. Libelous. But we'll be catching up with John Provost after qualifying before his first race a little later on. But first, on tonight's show, we will move swiftly on to the British GT Championship, and Dan Marr has news.
breaking news. This literally coming out in the last 10 minutes, or the last hour or so, actually. This is the biggest one we're going to find out. Adam Christodoulou is joining Richard Neary and Martin Short in the ABBA Roll Centre Racing Mercedes AMG GT3 for this weekend's 3-hour Silverstone event. And afterwards, Martin is going to step down from his seat, and Christodoulou is going to take the full season seat.
Wow. Okay. Where did you hear that? Where was that confirmed?
This is confirmed by Martin Short himself on Facebook.
Excellent.
I'll read out, if you would like me to read out the post. To basically, they said, delighted to announce on behalf of Team ABBA with Roll Centre Racing that at the Silverstone 3-hour British GT race this weekend, we will be joined by the highly talented AMG Mercedes factory driver Adam Christodoulou. Adam tested with us at Snetterton and Silverstone and brought something significant to our team. Well, a couple of things, youth, and then a couple of emojis for good mojo, and speed. He's a very fast young man and a thoroughly nice guy as well. This means we will move out of the Am class into Pro-Am. This is likely to be my last race in British GT, as I have decided to step aside to let Adam in, who can do the rest of the season. Richard Neary has endeavoured to talk me out of it, to his absolute credit, but a man's got to do what a man's got to do. We can't keep trolling around near or at the back, despite the fact we were getting close to the podium last week. He then goes on, we had a great test day at Silverstone, and it really made great improvements to the car, and I hope this proves to be real and tangible improvements at Silverstone, notwithstanding Adam's bloody fast, quote, however the car is. We go into the next race with a positive attitude and maybe with a little tear in my eyes. A GT career spanned across 17 years, which took me and my team to Le Mans, was driven by and forged in British GT. So thanks, guys and gals. Couldn't have done it without you. Not retirement, though. I'll continue to drive cars / series more suited to my vulnerability, followed by lots of the laughing emojis. One of that guy. Ooh, one, and then that one, and then the rolling eyes, and then the huggy one.
Dan Marr there acting out emojis, everybody, here on Motorsport Radio.
Yes, but this is significant news. The three of them doing the 3-hour race, which is possible under the regulations. Of course, Martin and Richard both Am drivers, so they're the only one in the Am class. But this moves Richard Neary and now Adam Christodoulou up into the Pro-Am for the rest of the season. That's significant. Even after what we've seen today, this is significant news.
Significant news here on Monday Motorsport on Motorsport Radio. Ryan, you also follow the British GT Championship, or the Welsh drivers in it, if not all of them. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, Martin Short set me down. I've been watching Motorsport for years now.
And with that breaking news,
actually,
oh dear, he's speaceless.
From breaking news to breaking news.
Yeah, exactly. We broke.
Yes.
I think we broke Wales.
Be interesting.
Well said, Ryan.
Should we go and say it again?
I think your internet was breaking up a little bit, but I think we got the gist of your positive vibes. Yeah, and I'm anticipating him to sort of disappear off the face of the internet anytime soon. Connor, you also mooch around the same area that the British GT Championship resides.
Well,
this could be, as Dan said, significant news.
Well, it would be sad to see Short go, and obviously he's been a valuable asset to the British GT series for a number of years. He says 17 years himself, and it's sad to see him go. But ultimately, we can bring this round to a discussion on GT3 racing and the state of GT3 racing as it is. As he said, he needs the results to improve. Well, obviously the team needs the results to improve, and having an Am lineup in GT3 isn't really compatible with the rest of the class, especially when all of them are running Pro-Am lineups. It does put them at a significant disadvantage. And of course, this isn't saying anything about Short's financial situation or anything like that, but with someone of Christodoulou's experience and his knowledge on these types of race cars, he will definitely be one who can help Richard Neary move towards the front of the field in the second half of the season, because we've seen a troubled start for the year from the team. But ultimately, if you are gonna get any success out of this year, and financially they might need some success, they might need these thirds, these firsts, these top 5 finishes to even push their own team forward, if not give them enough financial backing for next year. And someone like Christodoulou could really help with this, as someone who is a very sort of self-financed driver and himself is also very talented.
He's a works driver, isn't he?
Exactly, he's a works driver, so he brings the pedigree with the team, and that will be notable in the rest of the year. Whether Neary really becomes a real liability for the team is obviously up to the rest of the year, but I think Neary himself has done at least a commendable job in compared to the other AM drivers up and down the British GT field.
Yeah, certainly. And if you, incidentally, have any thoughts or comments, and you're tuned into our live stream this evening on Monday Motorsport on Motorsport Radio, then you're more than welcome to get in touch with us. It's at Motorsport Radio on Facebook. It's at MSport Radio on Twitter, and do join our community. Join the website, all for free, and we won't sell you details on, I promise. It's motorsport-radio.com, a growing but vibrant community where you can keep up to date with all the inside line with what's coming up on all our shows right here on Motorsport Radio. And we've got a few of the Welsh contingent out in force, Ryan. James Williams, an avid motorsport fan from Wales, sends a smiley face. Presumably that means hello in internet speak. Also, Piers gets in touch with us saying hello from rainy Glastonbury. Hello. Hello, Piers. Timothy Phipps says hello from Scotland. Hello, Scotland. And if you do want to chip in with your thoughts and comments about this sensational breaking news that Adam Christodoulou will be making his... I think he has raced in GTs before.
Yes,
a while ago.
He's raced in British GT before. I believe he did the race / Spa last year, because of course it was the run up to the Spa 24 Hours when Mercedes entered another couple of cars. That's it. It's a big one, and I think it's going to do Adam a lot of good, because we do see him out of places like the VLM, but it'll be an interesting one to see him bringing up AM drivers up to the level that they need to be. Richard Neary is a very capable driver, and I'm sure if we see the tutorage that Adam will give, as well as the understanding of the car, because it's a new car for them this year. Don't forget, stuff like the BMW Z4 might have been slightly easier for them to set up, but Adam, works with this car day in, day out, so I'm sure he knows the insides and the outsides of the car enough to go, well, we need to do... Okay, how's the car handling? It handles like this. Well, we need to do this, 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 this. Also, I've just been informed, Adam Christodoulou as well won the Nürburgring 24 last year. So, he's got long endurance racing experience, short haul endurance racing experience, short racing experience. He's got everything. Adam's a very capable driver, as we've seen, but it'll be great to see him back on British soil.
Certainly will be. Yes, he's done a lot of racing, as you said, Dan, with some success as well abroad, let's say, in various countries, in various generic GT championships, of which I
wouldn't call the Nürburgring 24 generic GT series, and I would definitely not call...
but the world of GT isn't all about Nürburgring. Come on. No, but considering if we look at the Nürburgring 24 Hours on its own, it is still one of the most... Yeah, but it's not all about that. I know, I am fully aware of that, but it's still a significant victory for him. Yeah. He is a very talented driver, and he has done well in lots of the GT series all over the world. So it's all great experience for him, and it's going to be great to see him back on the grids. Ryan Forward is here joining us for the first time on Motorsport Radio, and he's from Wales. And that leads me on to my next question. I wasn't just pointing that at the fact that he's from Wales. What was my question? Oh, yeah. Ryan, who is the best Welsh racing driver today?
So the best Welsh racing driver today, if you're going to go...
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Racing, then it would be Seb Morris or Elvin Evans. They're the best car racers out there at the moment. But Charles Davis on World Superbikes is also pretty awesome as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, I asked, and he gave me an answer. That's yeah, excellent. I can't disagree, can I? Because I'm not a Welsh motor racing expert like you are. But there you go. It will be interesting to see just what Seb Morris does this weekend in the GT. He's been coming under a lot of fire so far this season, having a few penalties, let's say, and a bit of misfortune as well, and getting involved in a few on-track incidents. Dan? Yeah,
let's mention the last one, because it's just easier to. So I was going to say Spa, then it's not. It is, of course, Snetterton last time out. Race 2, start of race 2, we saw the Ferrari and the Bentley get together, and you thought, oh no, not again. And sadly, as we saw, it was a bit of contact between the two of them. It turns out, when asked, Seb said, well, he was in my blind spot, I couldn't see him, I pulled over, and of course he couldn't see the Ferrari, it was just in the blind spot of the Bentley, and of course there was no malicious intent in there, but contact was made. Seb is very quick, he is exceptional. On his day, when he's properly on it, he is on fire. No one can get past him. The issue is, he's had a bit of a struggle this year. Autumn Park, it didn't quite go his way. Obviously, him and Callum McLeod getting a bit together, which was not a good idea, but we won't mention that. But given a chance, I say you give him and Rick Parfitt a chance. Silverstone, they're going to be a pair to watch. I genuinely reckon they're going to be up there for the race win at Silverstone, because the Bentley really suits Silverstone, but then again, so does the Lamborghini, you know. We don't know. I'm not going to predict GT3, and GT4 has just gone from big to even bigger this weekend, so we'll have to mention that in just a short while.
Yeah, I suppose it's worth mentioning, I suppose. Just to give you a quick update as to the championship standings in British GT, if you haven't been lucky enough to watch or follow all the championship action, which, by the way, just as a reminder, is all live, either on TV this year, the entire championship, or it's online for the cases when it's not on TV. It's on... Yeah, Frontrunner TV. It's all streamed on YouTube as well. We'll be putting in we'll be relaying the feed on our website, motorsport-radio.com, as well. Of course, it's already your number one place to go to for live motorsport and opinion and debate. But that's where it will be. And also, there's the support championships as well, which will be live on TV. And apart from, annoyingly, British F3, but that's another point that we'll get to perhaps later. Calm down, Connor. Calm down. But yes, so the championship in British GT. At the moment, GT3 Pro-Am championship, according to BritishGT.com, the authority on British GT, as it's the website. John Minshaw, Phil Keane leading at the moment, 107.5 points. And quite a way back, it's Parfitt and Morris in second place. Then it's Johnny Adam and Derek Johnson in third. Liam Griffin, Sam Tordoff in fourth. Duncan Cameron and Matt Griffin in fifth. Mark Farmer, John Barnes in sixth place. Would you like to know GT3 silver drivers, Dan?
GT3 silver drivers, I'm imagining that might be led by the Macmillan AMR car of James Littlejohn and Jack Mitchell, I believe.
Correct. Yes, 75 points for them at the moment in first place. Harry, is it Gottsacker?
Harry Gottsacker.
Did he?
Who isn't racing in British GT anymore, so we'll disregard him.
Well, no, he's still second in the championship in GT3 silver. He's, points are points. Nathan Freak in second, and Parker Chase and Charlie Robertson also seemingly with a question mark.
Again, there. Parker Chase isn't there. So.
Yeah, so let's skip over them anyway. GT4 Drivers' Championship. And it's Stuart Middleton and Will Tregurtha, who Dan once pointed out he's very, very tall.
He's not very tall. I said you're quite tall, aren't you?
And he with a bemused look, he said, "Yeah, Yeah, I am. As though he this unprecedented question that he'd never been asked before, just come off the podium after a successful race, and then gets Paxman-like question shoved at him. Asked, well, you're quite tall, aren't you?
Well, that's what happens when I'm 5'7". You should know the struggle, Lester.
Yeah, but I'm slightly more comfortable with my height, though. Will Tregertho, Stuart Middleton in first place at the moment in GT4. Alex Reid and Davey Pittard in second place in the championship. And then it's Sandy Mitchell and Kieran Haggerty in third. Graham Johnson and Mike Robinson in fourth place. Adam Ballon and Adam Mackay in fifth place. Akhil Rabindra and Dean McDonald, Dino, in sixth. Sharing that place with David Patterson, Joe Osborne as well. Dan, you had your hand up for some reason?
I had my hand up because the fourth place car was a Ginetta, but it's a Ginetta no more. They've gone to the McLaren 570S.
Okay.
Yes, it's news coming out today that I know I'm sure Dan
that's gone well.
Yeah, exactly. That I'm sure Dan will expand on, but we've had a change of cars from the Optima Motorsport team, and it's most interesting, I think.
Yes, tell us about this most interesting development, Dan. Or don't. Yeah,
that's fine.
Whatever.
With the Optima Motorsport change, I'm not sure at the moment. I'm not sure too much about the reason why they've done it, but they've decided to move from the Ginetta car that they had been running to the McLaren car. Now, the McLaren has been, let's say, successful this season in GT4, and it could be an interesting move for the team if they want to defend their GT4 title. And it does seem to be a bit of a kick in the teeth for the GT5, for the Ginetta, sorry, because having had so much success with them over the last year, it's been interesting to see them sort of fracture the relationship in the last week, and that I think will be the biggest talking point going into Silverstone, especially in the GT4 paddock, because you don't split teams halfway through a year unless you've seriously got a problem with them. And we haven't really been told too much about what the problem is, other than they've decided to immediately switch cars, which of course is a massive financial incentive from the team. And you've got to ask where the money has come from to even do this financial switch of cars, let alone the personal incentive on why this happened. I don't know if Ryan's got any opinion on the switch of cars.
Yeah, I mean, they won the championship, didn't they, in GT4 last year, that team. The only thing I can suggest is maybe they've seen that McLaren's becoming a more competitive car after, more miles of testing and development. And that's the only thing I can suggest why they may switch the car halfway through a season, is they feel that it's going to give them a better advantage for the rest of the year and coming years, I guess. So it looks like it might be a long-term move for them to switch over to the McLaren, I think.
Sorry, Connor, go on.
Yeah, well, you talk about maybe it'll get them more success, but in the press release statement that Optima released, they said a podium finish would be nice, but I think our first goal has to be to complete every lap in the 3-hour race. That's a feat we've never managed in previous years. Now, of course, that's a bit of a note, of course, of their genetic success, but the team clearly isn't expecting to win straight up, and later in the press release, they even mentioned saying that they're in a completely new car. They only picked it up today on the 5th of June. So it's not a car they've tested with before, and they're going to have very limited running in this. So you have got to question what benefit they'll even get from this. And this being the blue ribbon event of the British GT calendar, it's a strange one to change at this very moment. If they changed maybe at Snetterton, I maybe could have seen a bit more of an understanding from it, but right now it seems... Yeah,
it does seem a bit odd for Silverstone, for this big race at Silverstone. It does seem a bit odd indeed. Yeah.
Well, maybe perhaps they're just doing it with a view to next year, instead of doing all of their getting the car prepped and stuff and ready.
Are we still discussing McLaren?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. See, this internet for 1995. Okay, so apology for just stumbling on in, but I'm just expert at that, journalist.
Yeah, so anyway, that's all we've got time for that. And moving on, that literally all is we've got time for, unfortunately. Because John Provost, sorry Dan, but you snooze, you lose.
I'm going to bugger off then.
John Provost was qualifying at Silverstone in the SsangYong pickup truck challenge, which is actually quite a good club racing series. And he was chatting to me earlier, telling us a bit about what it's like to mix marshalling, clerk of the coursing in training, and being a young LGBT driver, one of only a very few out drivers. I'm sure there are others, and it's not newsworthy, but he did say himself there is a stigma. So until there's no stigma, guys, we'll fight on. Anyway, this is John after qualifying before his first race, I think. No, that's me. This is John now. Back at Silverstone after qualifying and before John Provost's first ever race. How was quali?
Very good, yeah, very confident in getting used to the car a lot more after testing. Starting 7th, so in the end it was about 7/10 off pole, which I'm quite happy with, being my first time out. I think I've tried a few different lines. I didn't feel it worked, so I didn't try them again, but it turned out to be my fastest lap, so I'm going to try and do that again, and still learning the circuit and the car.
For you then, what is the best, or perhaps both, what's the most difficult part of this Silverstone National Circuit?
For me, it's the last complex of corners. In testing, I was hugging the right hand side when I needed to be out a bit further and use the speed down the straight and use the torque out the corners. I think I got a bit better than that in qualifying, but still some time to improve. And also had a few gear selection issues, which were more me than the car, down at turn 2. Going 6th down to 4th. When I got into 5th, I just kept going back into 6th. So you just got to be slower on the gear change to get it into 4th.
Well, as we've previously mentioned, these cars are not a familiar sight on Britain's roads. The SsangYong make of cars. How are they to actually sort of compete in a race? What are they like in the cut and thrust of a Silverstone circuit?
Well, it's very close. Even in qualifying, it was everyone was probably not the best idea, but right up together, and they do provide a good amount of draft. So it's getting the speed off the corners, especially with Silverstone, where there's long straights, and you've got to build up the turbo and the boost. So you've got to getting off the corners is the most important thing, to have a run down. But even with a run down, it's quite hard to pass here, because you've got to be a firm way over before you can claim the corner. So.
Your hopes for your first ever race?
Hoping for starting 7th, so hoping for 6th or 5th, but really going to see how it goes. Not going to push too hard in the first one, sort of learn the race a bit more and learn the start. So
fantastic stuff. Not much else to say apart from best of luck, John.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
John Provost speaking to me after qualifying before his first race at Silverstone in the SsangYong Trophy. We'll catch up with him a little later to see how he did in the race. Qualifying wasn't quite bad for him. It was pretty good, decent, considering he'd never raced ever before. He got his race licence, and he'd only sort of bought new equipment just for that event. I understand he might possibly be doing a few other events in the future, but anyway, right, so briefly before we move on to Formula 3 chat and some Formula 1 chat and some TT and MotoGP, and we hear from other interview people and Kiko as well, we'll go back to Dan Marr, and Dan has a little internet connection issue, which is fine. That's okay, people do. I'm not going to judge you for it, Dan, but you had something to say about something involving GTs.
Yeah, well, there's two things. So the McLaren change is a massive change, and I think considering how Graham Johnson was enthused about the changes with the Ginetta at the start of the season, it's an interesting choice. And could this be the start of an exodus? I don't know. We need to have this conversation because obviously I didn't hear what you guys had to say because my internet was too busy not working. But it's an interesting decision because the Ginetta is still very capable, still very competitive. It's won, 3 races at the very least this year? I mean, they're still leading the championship. So for a couple of quick guys who won the championship in a Ginetta, albeit last year, Spec Ginetta last year, it's a big change. And as you say, maybe they're future-proofing. We'll find out. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll go and find out this weekend. I'll go and ask them. Yeah. But just to finalise the British GT news is Aid Barwick and Bradley Ellis, once again, they're back with Optimum Motorsport in, I think, said Ginetta G55 GT4 in the number 46 Twisted car, which is going to be grey and black and yellow and nice. And they'll be back. Of course, they do 1 or 2 rounds every season. It'll be good to see them again. So there we go. It's all change in the British GTs, and we're not even on Tuesday, so it could all change. There's rumours floating about a couple more GT3 cars are going to be coming in. A couple of different makes of GT3 cars are going to be coming in for this meeting as well. So who knows?
Nothing confirmed, though. Nothing officially said. Not even an entry list on the website yet.
Exactly, but there are rumours going about, and if there's anything that we know, rumours are good enough for us.
I suppose they are for now, yes, until such facts emerge, and then we'll talk about the facts. Anyway, so thank you very much, Dan, for coming on this part of the show. Still to come here on Monday Motorsport on Motorsport Radio, we'll be talking to Kiko Alexander-Giles in a short while. We'll be having a F3 preview with Connor Jackson, and Ryan Forward is here to also join in the discussion and debate, and as can you as well. Just type in your comments in the comments box, and I will duly read them out as well. So Formula One chat coming up. Before I do, though, I just wanted to point something out regarding the Indy 500 that I've actually not had a chance to talk about just yet, and it involves a prediction that I made regarding a certain driver. Basically, yeah, I predicted the winner, and I did so on this show. And it was at the end of the last show. Anyway, I had a beard back then. It was a good while ago. Basically, this is what. Not basically. Actually, this is what I said. But personally speaking, if I was to make a prediction, and one thing that if it actually came true, you'd never ever hear me shut up about it, would be Takuma Sato victory. I do think that Takuma Sato might do it this year. Ha! So there you go. I predicted it right here on Monday Motorsport. I said it, and I said it to Rachel Whiteford, that was talking to at the time, and I actually predicted a Takuma Sato victory in the Indy 500.
You didn't shut up when you said this. You didn't shut up after the Sunday evening when this happened. You didn't believe me, and then I told you, and you said, I called that, and you didn't shut up on the way home since. And bearing in mind it took us 2 days to get home, it was quite a long time. He was very happy, ladies and gentlemen, that he was correct, but he was correct, all fair dues.
I would like to point out that I had a friend who managed to put a bet on Sato actually winning the 500, and he got money from this, and he shut up a lot quicker than I think Lester shut up about this, who didn't appear to put any money on this at all.
How much did your friend win, though?
Yeah.
I have no idea. He didn't tell me, and I don't think he'd want me to share on air, personally. But
well, then, not a lot then, but yes.
Well, it's either not a lot or quite a lot. In that it's yeah. But anyway, hey ho. I should have put money. I even joked about it. I said I'll put money on it, and then I'll lose money or something along the lines of that. But you heard it here. I actually predicted a Takuma Sato victory when everybody was fapping over Fernando Alonso. He's going to win. He's going to do it. Orange car, McLaren, Senna, Indy, blah blah blah. F1's dead, and I said no. Takuma Sato is going to be the one. Little Takuma Sato, because I love him.
Well, if can we?
You probably shouldn't expand on what I said there.
Yeah. What I'm going to say though is it does look like Formula One is a very good breeding ground for Indy 500 winners, and IndyCar drivers.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, Ryan, do you watch? You partaking of the IndyCar variety of motorsports?
I don't follow it as much as what I'd like to be honest with you. I did watch the Indy 500 live this time round this year. But yeah, that's the first live IndyCar race I've watched in donkey's years. It's been a long time, so I was clued up on IndyCar. I do know a lot about the current drivers which are racing there, because obviously they've raced in many other things as well over the years.
Well, it's something that you can't really sort of escape, especially this year as well. And from, I think, what's the blog called? F1 Broadcasting, the brilliant blog by David Nelson. The overnight stats showed, I think, that the IndyCar 500 or the Indy 500 viewership on TV was down to one of its lowest of all time. That probably is wrong. I don't have the stats in front of me.
I'm getting them now.
Yeah, excellent.
I'm doubting this highly, because I saw another stat saying that Indy 500 actually ended up having more worldwide views than the Monaco Grand Prix.
Well, I'm talking about British views, and
well, okay.
Right. Shall we interject with the stats?
What's the stats?
So, the header is Indy 500 exploit peaks with 203,000 viewers in the UK. BT Sport /ESPN, I'm going to quote directly from the blog now, so f1broadcasting.co, there you go. The race was aired exclusively live from 16:30 to 21:30. The complete broadcast, including studio build-up and post-race reaction, averaged 129,000 people across the 5-hour time slot. The show started with 31k at 16:30, increasing to 54 at 16:55. The quickly audience jumped up. Viewing figures peaked at 16:45 as the caution period for Conor Daly's accident started. Numbers moving from 120k to 165k at 16:35, and they did eventually hit 201 and 203k. And then 191,000 people watched Takuma Sato's victory at 20:55.
No, we don't need a minute-by-minute breakdown, but
I was just.
Thank you for your efforts anyway for getting that. But
it was less than touring cars.
Less than touring cars, and but yeah, I think to say, to add to what Connor said as well. Overall, I mean, that probably just adds to people's kind of low impression of BT Sport. Maybe, I don't know, in this country. But I think worldwide overall, the Indy 500 had probably, arguably, undoubtedly, I'm making this up, its biggest ever viewing because of Fernando Alonso and Takuma Sato, and because I'd predicted it. I think so. And Connor agrees.
Are you ready for this?
Go on.
Go on, Dan.
Indianapolis 500 in Spain, the coverage averaged 443k, 3.6% from 17:59 to 22:06 on Movistar Sports and #0 or number 0. And then it seems like millions of people. But to be fair, it did beat in Spain. The Monaco Grand Prix was only watched by 212,000 people in Spain in Movistar's dedicated Formula 1 channel. And it lost viewers, so there you go. And then Indy got 5.46 million viewers in America, or ABC, a drop of a bit. This is what happens when you come unprepared. But
thank you, Dan.
Yeah,
anyway.
so it's sort of doing well.
Sort of, yeah, maybe. I suppose. If the Spanish, well, obviously, the Spanish are going to be more interested in the Indy 500 this year than BT Sport. Yeah, but anyway, so that's that. I predicted it. Basically, is my very long-winded way of saying I predicted Takuma Sato victory, and I will now shut up about it until next week. Also, British Formula 3, Connor. We have to talk about that because even though I did see some F3 Cup cars, the old and no longer British Formula 3 cars, the actual British Formula 3 is in action again this weekend.
It is, and it'll be good to see them obviously back on track. We've had a very short break, as I know Dan knows, between the last British GT F3 round and obviously this one's only a 2-week break. Yep. So it's a quick turnaround from all of the drivers and teams. So it'll be interesting to see how they get quickly up to speed. Silverstone's an interesting round, obviously. We had it rained out quite a lot last year, and the final round was actually cancelled because of delays to the schedule and flooding within the pit lane, which was quite amusing to a lot of us journalists who are safe and dry in the media centre. So we were fine, but I'm sure the marshals utterly hated it last year. As for the F3 going into this weekend, the biggest question I think has to be on Ahmed about whether he can keep the momentum up, because if he can, then I think we have to say at this point in the year that if he hasn't dropped off at all, then we kind of have to sort of give the championship, pseudo championship, to him at this point in the year, because it's going to be very unlikely that anyone's really going to come close to him. In terms of the battles up and down the field, of course, the battle for second is still very tight. There's only a few points really separating second place Cameron Diaz and sixth place his Carlin teammate James Poole, who had a bit of a terrible weekend last out in Snetterton. Well, I said terrible. He picked up 2 podiums, but one.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
Horrendous.
Yeah,
awful.
exactly. But a terrible race 2 in which he encountered a number of problems. I think we'll say it nicely as problems. He barely scored any points in race 2.
He did have a puncture in one of the races.
In a points valuable championship, this really did hamper him. And consistency has really been the name of the game so far. And people like Cameron Diaz, people like even like Ben Hingley, for example, has been very consistent with their results, and these guys will be interesting to watch going into Silverstone, especially where overtaking is a lot easier. And so we'll be interested to see which drivers can really make up time, who perhaps aren't that quick in qualifying, but know they have the race pace underneath their own cars.
You mean like Chase Owen, for example?
Well, we'll see which drivers come out on top, and I'm sure Lester.
That was a very diplomatic no.
I'm sure Lester will say an awful lot when Chase collects his maiden podium in the series.
I could have picked any driver at random. One driver that I did point out, I think on last week's show, that I thought had improved and received a spectacular amount of unfair press, mostly because of a viral video that was floating around thanks to WTF1, was Manuel Maldonado, and he's actually, fair play to him. He's being driver coached now by Sam Brabham.
Look who we've into. It is Sam Brabham. Hello there. How are you? What are you doing here?
I'm really good. I'm coaching Manuel with Fortec, so I'm glad the weather's
good luck with that.
Eased off. Thank you very much.
Wow, I forgot that you said that.
He did actually do. I think he had a solid weekend. I think he failed to finish in one of the races, but he certainly qualified higher that weekend than he had done all season, and he is getting driver coaching from Sam Brabham, and what that family doesn't know about winning things and racing just isn't worth knowing. Ryan, do you keep in touch with the F3 Championship?
Yeah, well, obviously F3 has got a Welsh driver in it, so yeah, I follow it quite often. Nobody's able to touch Enam Ahmed all this season. I mean, he has just been way out front. But Ben Hingley, obviously took his first win earlier in the year. Ben is from Abergele, North Wales, so yeah, I follow it quite a bit. So
excellent stuff, and we will try our very best next week, or Dan will, and anyone who's helping him, because I'm not actually going to Silverstone, unfortunately. I will be.
Connor.
If we can persuade Connor to sort of lend a hand, that will be fantastically appreciated, and it will be,
we'll see.
Will be rewarded in future, of which anyway, moving on. So yeah, the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship back in action again. Will it be an Ahmed walkover? Has he already won it? Has he already walked over? Can Paul climb back up the championship, get a couple of wins under his belt? He managed to start on pole position and actually claim pole in the qualifying session at the last round at Snetterton. So you could sort of say that he has a bit more momentum behind him, even though he did suffer a puncture and overall had a not the best weekend. Hello, by the way, if you are watching, James or Ted, Paul. So yeah, all fingers crossed for all of the drivers who I genuinely wish all do very well, which obviously can't be the case. There's obviously going to be one winner or three, because there are 3 races this weekend, and we will of course diligently report on what happens this weekend. Dan Marr will be there, and Connor as well. And they'll be reporting onto what happens in the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship. And I kind of hope, really, and this isn't saying anything or taking anything away from Enam, but I kind of hope it isn't a championship walkover, because we do want it. The racing's been great this season, but we as fans want to see an open championship, even though there might be the best racing in the world from second to the back of the grid. If there's only one guy winning it kind of takes the polish off the championship a little bit. Again, nothing against Enam. He deserves to be on his way to Euro F3, the FIA European Formula 3 Championship, which he revealed on this show last week, is where he's aiming to go next year. And I have no doubt that he'll get there eventually. So that's British F3 this weekend. At Silverstone. Go and check it out. Go and attend it in person. If you have any comments about tonight's programmes or thoughts or opinions, then do get in touch with us. This is Monday Motorsport on Motorsport Radio. Hello to John Munro, who is tuned in live. He says, evening. Miles Cook has a comment and chipped into something I think we were talking about earlier regarding GTs. Miles says, looked like the series was providing free fuel in the paddock. Weird looking cars, but variety is great. I have no idea what he's talking about or which series or championship he was referring to, and neither do you. Miles Cook says, are we going to be are you guys reporting on the mighty BMW E30s in the BMW Championship from Silverstone that weekend? Winky face. I presume he had something to do with it. Soz Miles. I probably should have read that.
In fact, is this the same? I think this is the same Miles Cook who's tweeted at M Sport Radio. If you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, and he said, so at M Sport Radio at ALO_official mentions on Twitter in the last 4 weeks. Spot the peak at F1 Broadcasting, and it has a peak of 47-ish%.
Are we talking about IndyCar again?
Yeah, this has just come through on Twitter, so I thought I'd mention it. And then F1 Broadcasting has just said, just a little bit good. More useful than TV ratings, but don't tell Chris I said that, was his reply. So,
Yeah, Miles Cook, he's from Cumbrae, and he races in the Brixton BMW Championship. He also runs a company called Blurt, or he works for a company called Blurt, which does all statistics and stuff like that. So,
of course, I knew that, Ryan. We all knew that. Yeah, of course we did. Yeah, that was just.
And he was on about the SsangYong Pickup Championship. He was regarding the series. Yeah,
they are interesting cars, and they do certainly have a different sort of sound to them. They're I wouldn't say weird, but very, very interesting, and I urge you to try and check them out. Check their Facebook page. There's I think Diana Binks was taking some live Facebook video in the assembly area just before some of the drivers went out to race, basically. You might even see me wandering about in the background somewhere. But yeah, the SsangYong Musso pickup truck drivers. Connor's vanished. But yeah, they're pretty good. I urge you to check them out. And also the BMW Championship with the BMW, the mighty BMW E30s, pretty good as well. So I'm told.
Production BMW Championship.
That. Yeah, so also racing at Silverstone at the weekend, quiet you, was the mini challenge in the Cooper class, and there was one particular driver racing there this weekend who is, I'm going to say, dominating at the moment, almost dominating, not conclusively, not totally, but she's won 4 out of the first, I think, 6 races so far. It is Jessica Hawkins racing for Accelerate Motorsport, and she was on the podium 3 times as well at the weekend. She won 2 of the races, and I caught up with her because it's what you have to do, I suppose, as a journalist. If someone's dominating a particular championship or series so much, then that's what you do. You go and ask them questions and say, what's going on here then?
At Silverstone with Jessica Hawkins. Hello.
Hello.
So, Jessica, you are very successful in these minis at the moment. Just tell us a bit about what you've been doing and how many times you've been winning recently.
So we had a fantastic start to the season. Amazing as well, considering that we didn't even know that we were going to be racing at the beginning of the season. But the mini challenge has just been a fantastic thing, probably the best thing that I could have done for my career. So we had a day's testing before the start of the season. Went really, really well. We were under pole time from last year with similar conditions. Then we poled it at the first race, went on to win the first 2 races, and a third in the reverse grid race. And we've done the exact same here. We've poled 2 wins and a third in the reverse grid race. Although this one was slightly more annoying because it got red flagged halfway through. And we were catching the leaders massively. So I'm presuming you thought you had a chance with a third win here today. Yeah, for sure, definitely. We were coming at him so fast, and I was trying to push my teammate because we were catching at him so fast. But had I have known, I probably would have gone in on my teammate. But lesson learned for next time, I guess. But it's all about teamwork, and if it's worked so far, so for me anyway. But if we can continue doing that, I'm sure we'll have a successful season. Well, I'm sure you will have a successful season if the start of it is anything to go by. And talking, if it's not too premature, about perhaps what the future might hold for you, where do you see yourself this time next year? Who knows? It's all about budget. I mean, we've got to finish this season first. As I say, we've only got the budget for the first 4 races. There's another 3 after that. So the first objective is to find the money for those remaining 3. Then I guess we can look at next year. Next year, if we finish the championship where we've started, I guess the next progression is the mini challenge JCW. So hopefully, let's finish this season first, and then we can work on next year. And if something, if it's say a drive, just hypothetically, in the British GT Championship or similar sort of tin top championship came along? Yeah, for sure. That's the goal, really. I've always wanted to do touring car, but I think that's a long shot away. Although achievable, very achievable. We just got to, walk before I can run. You certainly seem to have the talents anyway to match some of the seasoned drivers in this championship anyway. Jessica, well done, congrats, and I'm sure we'll see you on the podium again very soon. Thank you. I just want to say a massive thank you to my sponsors, Karts and Brian. Also a massive thank you to the team, so we've done a cracking job so far at Accelerate Motorsport.
Jessica Hawkins there, fantastically talented driver, and you wouldn't seem it from that interview there, but she'd actually competed. I think that was a final race of the weekend, and understandably, as I suppose most drivers are at the end of a grueling weekend, they'd be a little bit tired, and you just wouldn't think that she'd literally just got off the podium being soaked in champagne, and she is proving to be the class of the field so far. It'll be interesting to see if she can manage to get more funds together for a drive for the rest of the season, because in the mini challenge Cooper Pro and Am class, she's way out. She's way out there. She's leading the field. Like I said, she's won 4 out of the first 6 races. She won 2 of the races at the weekend and finished in 3rd place in the race that was red flagged. And she was very confident that she would actually be right up there on the top step once again. So if you are not aware of the name, then pay attention in the Mini Coopers. Maybe she'll even be moving into onto the British GT bill, as is her hopes in future. So Jessica Hawkins, keep out I'd say keep an eye out for her, because she obviously is very talented and showing other drivers a thing or two, I would say. Right, on to our next interview, because I catch up with John Provost once again. And I've been following him around Silverstone all weekend. I'm sure he appreciates that. But he was kind enough to put the Motorsport Radio logo on his race suit. So I thought, hey ho, fantastic opportunity to go and find out his what happens in his first race weekend as well. And let's go and find out what he has to say after race number 1.
Back once again at Silverstone after his first ever race. John Provost, how was it?
Brilliant fun. Yeah, usually it's more a learning experience, but fully enjoyed it. Yeah, a few issues, but got there in the end.
Well, just talk us through it. What happened from the start? You started in P7, and tell us from your point of view what happened.
Yeah, P7 had a reasonably good start off the line. Round turn 2 had a few issues with the clutch, couldn't get really fit, so I dropped to the back of everyone. Sort of sorted out, see if I could get the gearbox working again, and it was okay after that. And then just started trying to get quicker and quicker onto the back of Natalie, I think, and just trying to. She made a few mistakes going in turn 2, so used it up the inside to get past, and then just not past them as and when they could. Some of them were some spin-offs in front, so take them as they could. But 8th in the end. Fully enjoyed it. They're just getting the clutch sorted now. But after that, hoping for a better result in race 2.
It's, I suppose, something that you've waited for all your life, really, to get yourself on a TSL timesheet. And you've done that now, the first of perhaps 3 for today. What can you perhaps hope for in the second race coming up very shortly?
So I think starting P10 wasn't as quick as I was, I think mostly due to the clutch, and I had a few issues with some of the lines, which new brake pads as well. So hopefully for the next one, looking at higher than 8, hopefully. Just if I finish in 8, I'll be more than happy, but hoping for a bit more than that.
Excellent stuff. John, race 2's about to happen. Best of luck.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
And you can find out what happened in race number 2. Would he improve his position? He was starting in 10th place. Find out in a bit. John Provost making his racing debut this weekend in the SsangYong pickup challenge in the Musso cars. Don't know, but there was a new experience for me as well, and I highly urge you to check it out on social medias. There are videos available, I think, on YouTube and other places as well, but do check them out. It looks like it is a fantastic series, and we'll catch up with him again. Final instalment of the John Provost racing weekend coming up in a short while, but first, just tidying things up, and on with, he's now literally just moved his things off the heater. Please welcome onto the show, it is Kiko Alexander-Giles. Hello there, Kiko.
Good evening, Leicester. And again, I'm making a regular occurrence of this. I'm going to have to start charging you at this rate.
You're more than welcome to come on and basically teach me about bikes, because it's no secret that I think anybody on the planet knows more about bikes. But that's not to say that I don't like bikes. It's just that with so much stuff going on, I spread myself too thin. You know, I try to watch everything from Formula 1, IndyCar, MotoGP, British GT, Formula 3. I'm at some Cool Fab racing events as well, which means that I can't watch whatever's on that weekend, and sometimes it's MotoGP. Just
it's okay. You don't have to explain yourself, Lester. It's fine. Honestly, none of us will fall out with you. You're okay.
But basically, if the next comment I read is, "Oh, that Lester doesn't know what the hell he's talking about on Facebook," then you're right. Basically, you're absolutely right. You're correct. Welcome back, Kiko Alexander-Giles. And by the way, we are still live on Tinternet. So if you have any comments or questions, or you'd like to disagree, I can't imagine anyone disagreeing with what Kiko might say. But if you're one of those people, then do chip in with your comments, and we'll put them to Kiko, and we'll see what happens there. So MotoGP then at the weekend, yesterday in fact. It's already Monday. And it was the Grand Prix of Mugello, the Autodromo del Mugello, or in Italian, something like that. And pretty decent race.
It was an exciting start. Everybody comes to Mugello, wants Valentino Rossi to win. His spiritual home. It really is his spiritual home. His proper home race is Misano. His spiritual home is Mugello. And straight off the line, he was in the lead and he led down to the first turn. And if you consider the week he's had, having his chest trauma following the motocross accident on, I think it was the Tuesday, it might have been before that actually. They wasn't sure he was going to race. So for Valentino Rossi to even lead the race was incredible. Crowd went nuts, as you can imagine. But it wasn't to be for Valentino Rossi, but Italy had a double celebration. In fact, they could have a triple celebration because it was Andrea Dovizioso who came through. He had diarrhea on Sunday morning. He definitely got the trots on in the race, I tell you. He was flying. He got moving, he got to the front, and straight away, he didn't just edge away, it was a half a second straight away. Andrea Dovizioso really did pull the pin, and he showed that he can actually ride and win in the dry. That was his first dry weather win. Of course, Donington Park 2009 was mixed conditions. Sepang last year was underwater, more or less. You needed a speedboat. Yesterday was nice and dry for him. Dovi pulled it out. Maverick Vinales, second place for him. Great start to his year. The consistency is there. The only letdown really was Texas, followed by Jerez. But he's back now, won in Le Mans. He's second here at Mugello. He's beaten his teammate. He's pulled that championship lead out to over 25 points now. He has got that crucial race wins worth of points. He doesn't even have to turn up in Catalonia if he wants to hold on to the lead. His crash, I thought maybe his crash on the Saturday morning, or I think it might have been Sunday afternoon, Friday afternoon, I thought his crash may well just rattle him a little bit, but he didn't. Vinales, the cool, collected rider that he is, came back, fought back, took the second, and he managed it. He realised, he said in an interview after, he couldn't go with Andrea Dovizioso. It's not worth risking it. He was within a second come the start of the last lap, but really that is a massive amount to make up.
Certainly, and it was, as you say, a fantastic effort from the recently sort of injured Rossi to be leading for a period. He finished in fourth place, and Vinales in second, as you mentioned, Petrucci in third place. If you
don't follow MotoGP that much, first of all, why? Second of all, Danilo Petrucci might actually sound a bit of a foreign name to you, and I don't mean that in a punny way because he's Italian. Honestly, he's not a front runner all the time. So for him to take a privateer factory Ducati, it's run by a private team, it's the GP17 machine, though it's the same as the factory boys get. If he can take that to a third place at Mugello, home round, what an incredible performance. That is his first dry weather podium as well. Danilo Petrucci, not sure whether he's going to be up there for the rest of the year where he is, in the third and fourth leading in the leading group, but he's definitely got confidence now. And what that confidence does is that momentum. It brings you that momentum. It's going to move you forward. They don't have a weekend off. They go straight to Catalonia. Always a fantastic race. Danilo Petrucci is off the back of a podium. If he can take that form to Spain and Catalonia, we could be looking at a top 5 or 6. There is definitely something in that GP17. He beat Jorge Lorenzo, who didn't, I think he finished 9th actually. Jorge Lorenzo finished 9th, Danilo Petrucci finished 3rd.
Lorenzo in 8th, I think.
8th for Lorenzo, there you are. It's worrying times on one side of the factory Ducati. And I'm not sure whether Jorge Lorenzo is going to be really mixing it with them at the next round. Alvaro Bautista has been a class act for the Aspar Ducati team. He shone on Sunday afternoon, beat Marc Marquez. And that, to me, shows that, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many World Championships you've won, it's all about the bike you're on at the time. Valentino Rossi showed that when he went to Ducati, he couldn't ride the thing. Andrea Iannone, top-class rider, can't ride a Suzuki. Same Jorge Lorenzo. He's won all these championships, but at the end of the day, he can't ride that Ducati as he wants it. They're still struggling in the mid-corner speed. And that means that, effectively, Jorge Lorenzo, that's where his character really comes out. That's where his strength as a rider is really enhanced. In the middle of the corner, he's able to carry that corner speed. And if he can't do that, there's not a lot Jorge Lorenzo can do. So unfortunately for him, he's languishing down in the bottom half of the top 10. And, it's not looking good for Ducati on that side, but obviously they've got the race win at Mugello. They're going to be happy. Like I say, that momentum doesn't just go with Petrucci. It goes with Andrea Dovizioso. He's going to go to Catalunya. If he gets on the front row, he might have a little look at a race win there. Who knows? Catalunya's always going to be a great race. If you watch one race throughout the whole year, if you've never watched MotoGP before, if you want to watch one race, watch Catalunya. It's a classic every year.
And interesting that you should mention that the Petrucci's machine gets on the podium. I'm thinking particularly of Silverstone as well, because if, as you say, that the team and the can basically prove that it can get a podium, then his teammate Scott Redding surely must be in shout, if anybody, of getting a Brit on the podium at Silverstone.
Yeah, Scott Redding had a bit of a difficult weekend this weekend. He's been a little bit off it. But, like you say, it's funny you say that, actually. Danilo Petrucci did pick up a podium at the British Grand Prix in 2015, but that was in underwater conditions. Honestly, I'm sure he overtook a submarine at some point of the race. I'm not so sure on that. But, Scott Redding, I personally thought he'd be really gelling with Mugello. He's long-levered, he's got the big arms, the big legs, he can haul that big Ducati. You need that upper body strength for the Ducati. You could haul that round, use it in the flip-flops, the rights and the lefts, get it onto an apex, and, the only place to lose out is on the straight. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out for Scott Redding. He was nearly, I think he was 20th on the grid, So the contrast, really, with the Petrucci up here, and then you've got Scott Redding, who's a little bit languishing. But like I say, it's a bit of a pendulum. You can swings and roundabouts. You can go right up top one weekend, down below the next, or you can swap round like that. It's all about the circuit. It's about the rider. Scott Redding might have not just been feeling it this weekend. Feel is a massive thing. So going to Silverstone, Scott likes a circuit. This is late in the year, obviously. Scott likes the track. Danilo Petrucci's had form at the circuit. It's all in the air. And for the time we get there, really, it's going to be one to watch. Definitely, the British Grand Prix is always a good one as well.
Just looking at Scott Redding's previous British Grand Prix results for the past few years, and going back to last year, I think he finished in 17th. Obviously, different machines throughout the years, obviously. His highest place finish in MotoGP, I think, was in 2015, where he finished in 6th.
Yes, last year, Scott crashed twice. He was actually quite up in the front 8 or so, but he did crash twice, which obviously is not useful in a race. So
we'll get to Cal in a moment.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yes.
Go on. Let's get Cal on.
It's just where you're mentioning crashing. Obviously, my mind instantly goes to Cal Crashlow. No, don't be mean. But yeah, he was a DNF.
He was, but this time it was through no fault of his own. I've got to say. For as much grief as some people do give.
Was that unfair then? I'm sorry, Cal.
He wasn't unfair, obviously, but, this move that Danny Pedrosa made, I mean, where he thought he was getting that gap from, there's a saying, give him an inch, he'll take a mile. But, that there wasn't a centimetre on offer there. Danny Pedrosa definitely was never going through. It was an opportunity. It was late on the brakes. It was never going to work. The only thing that was going to happen was a front-end washout. And unfortunately for Cal Crutchlow, he was on the outside. There was nowhere for him to go. Danny Pedrosa's Repsol Honda came slamming into the side of the LCR Honda, and that was it, really. Cal Crutchlow was remonstrating in the gravel trap. It was a difficult end to a difficult weekend, and Cal Crutchlow will move on from here. He will move on from Mugello. He'll go to Catalunya. He's had good races there before. He's running the top 5 very consistently. And now, really, it's about picking yourself up again and moving on. He had a difficult Jerez, but let's not forget he's a podium finisher already this year. He's had a 3rd place in Argentina. The bloke has pace. It's just sometimes difficult weekends, and it doesn't work out, whether that's through your fault, a machine fault, or another rider's fault, which is out of your hands totally, in the name of Daniel Lloyd this time.
I think you made me feel a bit sorry for him now, because like you say, he does have the talent, and that's clearly why he's still in MotoGP. If it wasn't any good, he wouldn't even get there.
He's a double race winner at the end of the day. He won Brno for the first time last year in wet conditions, and everybody started saying, "Oh well, it's wet," and the wet track's a great leveler.
Yeah, but you need skill to perform well in the wet, and let alone win.
It's not just is it a great level, you also need a bit of talent behind riding in the wet. It's not as simple as everyone who's good in dry conditions comes down to a mediocre kind of form, and everyone who's all right in the dry goes up to being exceptional in the wet. It doesn't work like that. So Cal Crutchlow still needed skill, and as a British rider, you would have thought he'd done enough riding in the wet anyway. So obviously that has all come to the fore, and then he showed everyone up, all the doubters up, all the haters up when they got to Australia, down under, took that win, beat Valentino Rossi, pulled the pin as well, really. He dominated the Australian Grand Prix once Marquez had come off. So Cal Crutchlow's a double race winner, dry and wet. He's had a podium this year in dodgy conditions in Argentina. He has got pace. Like last year, though, he just got off to a slow start. And I don't want him now to have another crash, because then you start thinking, his confidence gone again. If he can just get a top 5, top 6 in Catalunya, I think we're on course for a bit of a special thing for Cal Crutchlow this year. Top 5 in a championship, that's my tip.
Do you think he's still a bit of too much of a confidence rider, though? I mean, he's been that side of the confidence, and you'd surely know that he would know now how to deal with lack of confidence. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think he's lacking in confidence.
But if he goes like you said, if he has a couple of bad races, or these things can spiral.
They can spiral, but as we've seen before, Cal Crutchlow, he was bottom of the championship by the time we got to Le Mans last year in 2016. He still managed to take a couple of wins and more podiums along the way. Cal Crutchlow is a top rider. We're going to get to the halfway point, and I think, to be fair, he's going to have a great... If he can get to the halfway point, which is a German Grand Prix at the end of June, start of July, 2nd of July, if I'm not mistaken.
This month, yeah.
Yes, it is. I think it starts on the 30th of June, which is a Friday, because I'm at Snetterton for the British Superbike round, so I actually miss a bit of it. But if he can get to the German round, solid results, we look at the standings, compare it to last year's points at halfway, I think Cal Crutchlow will think, you know what, I've had a couple of crashes. And in all fairness, this wasn't even his fault this weekend. Danny Pedrosa was wayward. He was out of control. That Repsol Honda was a wrecking ball coming in there at the side of Cal Crutchlow. But as we negotiate our way through the season and we get to Sachsenring for the German Grand Prix, and maybe we'll evaluate it after Brno too. If Cal Crutchlow has more points come the end of them two races, I think we're still holding out, and I think Cal Crutchlow will be on for a more successful season points-wise than last year.
Well, in the championship, points-wise, I've just been having a quick look on the website, and nope, can't find him. There he is, in 10th place, actually, yeah, with 40 points. So yeah, he's kind of a difficult one to predict, I suppose, isn't he?
He is. I mean, we're a third of the way through the season now, so what he's got to do is look at it and think, you know what, a couple of podiums in the next 6 races won't go amiss, and you know what, I'll push for a win in dodgy conditions somewhere else. Let's just be clear, this weekend was difficult as well for him. You know, he was top of free practice at the end of Friday, and then suddenly that script was ripped up, that form book was ripped up. We got to Saturday, and he was out of it totally. He had to go through qualifying 1. He was pushed out. I think he qualified 13th, and it was always going to be difficult. And I hope he's a very motivated rider anyway. Keith Ewan says in commentary, he grits his teeth. He really does grit his teeth. He digs in deep. And I think now we're going to get to Catalunya, and he's going to do the same. He can't allow this to knock his confidence at all. A terrible weekend and then being taken out, you've got to look at it and think, well, you know, he was actually closing the group ahead of him. So Cal Crutchlow definitely had late race pace. if it wasn't for Danny Pedrosa skittling him down into Scarperia, the right-hander, after the 2 Arrabbiatas.
Championship-wise, and it's Viñales who's leading by, I think, 26 points at the moment after yesterday's Grand Prix. Dovizioso in second. Viñales leading, incidentally, on 105 points. Dovizioso in second on 79 points. Rossi in third, just a few points behind Dovizioso, and then it's Marc Marquez in fourth. Pedrosa in fifth. Johan Zarco in sixth. George Lorenzo, as I always call him, in seventh place. Eighth place, Petrucci. Ninth is Jonas Folger, and Cal in the top 10. The reason I couldn't find him is because I'd obviously started looking at the bottom of the standings and scrolled up, and I thought, I can't find him. How rude of me. Anyway. But yeah, no, I do respect Cal. I don't hate him before you send in your messages, by the way. I don't hate him. I don't hate any drivers or riders, to be honest. I am literally Mr. Neutral. I like everybody and I want everyone to do well. I might pour vitriol on scorned on some bad performing drivers or riders that particular weekend if they've obviously had a nightmare. But that's it. It's quickly forgotten about.
So it's all right. So as you know, I always sit on the fence. I've had to stop sitting on the fence actually because I'm getting splinters. So I try to be neutral as much as possible.
Exactly, and that's what we like about you, Kiko. Is that we were joking before we went on air about just how to wind Kiko up and just ask him basically. So Kiko, tell us the problem with whatever. Yes. And then off he goes for half an hour on a huge monologue, which is good, I suppose, when you're doing radio, because that's what you want. Oh, and I might even do that later, just to wind him up. But yeah, MotoGP, as you say, moves on next to the old Barcelona. There.
It's going to be a great race. For years and years and years, this has been one of the best races now on the calendar. Fever pitch atmosphere. There will be a somber cloud as well, a very dark cloud descending over Catalonia this year because we arrived there, and although it was a year on Saturday since Louis Salom died, it is a year at the circuit since we lost Louis Salom. So there will be a dark cloud over the circuit, the Barcelona Catalonia, but like we did with Nicky Hayden, we remember him in how we want to remember him, which was as a champion. So we'll do the same as Louis Salom, an absolute talent on and off the bike and track.
We will indeed, and this seems to be an unfortunate amount of people that we are remembering who've suffered lately. Which is unfortunate, I must say. We'll move on to Moto 2. And, yesterday's race was won by... Did you watch Moto 2, by the way? Should I even ask you about that? I presume you did.
Listen, I'm no part-timer. I've got to be full-time, Lester. There's no point otherwise.
How dare I even suggest otherwise?
Great Moto2 race, one of the best we've seen over the last couple of years. Matteo Pessini was always going to want to win it, but when he got overtaken and there was Marquez and Lutti ahead of him, I thought, oh no, it's not going to happen, and we're not going to have an Italian winner because Franco Morbidelli was off the pace. He was back in fourth place. But when Lutti went through on the inside of Casanova Cervelli, and then the corner literally next, the corner straight after Arrabbiata 1, he just set it up beautifully, took the inside line for the lead. And he was so good to watch. That's what we want bike racing for. There's inches between front and rear wheel, inches between left knee and right knee with other riders, rubbing shoulders and elbows, absolutely side by side, get it on its side, 110 mile an hour. That's easy stuff for them. It's really enjoyable to watch. Pessini took his first win. Here's a statistic for you, Lester. Pessini took his first win since 2009 at the same circuit. It's his first podium in 8 years. Matteo Pessini. And also, while we're on the Matteo Pessini, I've got a little picture. I didn't take it. I found it on Facebook. Go and check it out. It's on Twitter. Oh. Matteo Pessini has got he had an injury when he was I don't know if it was a schoolboy just as he was starting racing. Either way, he's got an injury on his right arm, which means it's not as strong. Which you're probably thinking, well, hang on a minute, he's riding a motorbike. It can't be that bad. What he does is he counters that, and he uses the clutch and the brakes on the left side, and just uses the right hand throttle for the right hand side for the throttle, which is bizarre. Go and check it out. It's on my timeline at MotoGP Kiko. It's going to be one of the first posts up. Go and have a look. Check it out. There's a lot of dialogue on it. A great thread. Josh Brooks got involved. He gave a few tips on it, and I had a bit of a chat with him over it. And loads of people commenting. It's on Keith Ewan's timeline. It's also on Julian Ryder's timeline. Go and check it out. It's just it's a bit of a intricacy. It's a bit of an insight into how Matteo Pessini kind of rides. It's a bizarre way of doing it. I suppose you could compare it with Ian Hutchinson with his adaptation for his leg, but this is something a little bit special. Go and check it out.
Certainly, yeah, and I'll put a link to that on the show page as well in a few hours' time once we've gone off air. So yeah, I did notice. I was watching. I was scouring while I was at Silverstone. I was, as we all do, really just seeing what's on Twitter, who's been performing well and stuff, and where all the controversies are. And Moto2 kept getting mentioned as I was scrolling up and down. Moto2, OMG, Moto2, and I thought, yeah, okay, so something's going on in Moto2. I don't know. I guessed it was a good race.
Yes, mega. Go and check it out. BT Sport will have it on their official Twitter page. I'll probably have it on their Facebook page as well. Go on the MotoGP official page. They'll probably have it on there somewhere too. Great race. Watch it. Gets really exciting when the last 6 or 7 laps come in.
Where do you think it ranks in the recent history of Moto2 races? Because it's usually been MotoGP and Moto3 who get...
Yeah, I mean, for Moto2, I'd definitely say it's in the top 5 of the ones we've had over the last few years. We had a great one last year in Germany when Jonas Folger went up the inside of Zarco on the last corner to try and win his home Grand Prix, first Grand Prix of the year. Didn't happen. Zarco beat him on a run to the line. We saw an incredible race in Australia when Thomas Luthi, the Swiss rider, slipstreamed Franco Morbidelli to the line in Australia. It was so close. I've never seen someone come from that far back and win. I don't know where you'll find them. Check them out. Might be on YouTube somewhere. Other video streaming websites are available, of course. But no, definitely in the top 5. It was a great race, and obviously fever pitch atmosphere. Italy, Italian rider takes the win. What more do they want?
Yeah, what more do they want? I don't know. I don't think they do want more.
A postcard, or answers on a postcard, answers on the tweet, anything.
Yeah. Moto3 and yesterday's race, it was predictably an Italian, I'm not going to say a walkover in the actual race, but yeah. Thoughts?
Moto3 was... I can't remember the last time we saw a whole grid battle it out for a win. It was like watching IndyCar, just with bikes. You know, it's incredible.
They're the memories that I've got of Moto3, an entire grid for like 95% of the race.
More than that this weekend. Literally, Mugello always throws up a cracking Moto3 race, but this weekend was something on another scale. It blew every other Moto3 race out of the water. They were 9 or 10 abreast going down into the first turn. Riders barging in. There wasn't that many crashes either. They were all very neat, very tidy. All the moves were fair. Bit of an elbow here and there, bit of contact. That's what you want. Great racing. Slipstream to the line, though, was not an option. I thought second is going to win. If you're coming out the last corner in second place, you normally get slipstream to the line and take that win. Take it via the slipstream. But Andrea Migno's KTM absolutely dug in. It dug in and it held off Fabio Di Gianantonio. Di Gianantonio wasn't that bothered. He was all getting 10 metres past the line. He was tapping Migno on the shoulder. Well done, well done. Migno went nuts. The Italians went mad. They had a 1-2, which was the first 1-2 in the lightweight class at Mugello. First Italian 1-2 in the lightweight class at Mugello since 2000, when Roberto Locatelli beat Mirko Giansanti. That's how long ago that has.
And we all remember that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Obviously I do. I was probably watching it while I was having some baby food or something. But no, you know, it was an incredible race, record-breaking race as well. And you know, it's going to be an incredible year now. Joan Mir, the championship leader, finished down the order. John McPhee finished ahead of him. The championship is condensing up again now. It's Romano Fenati who I'm more worried about. He was up the sharp end for a lot of the race, faded back rather dramatically. There was a big change. I think with 5 laps to go down to the first turn, there was streams of machines side by side, and Fenati got the blunt end of the stick on that one. I think he finished 13th. That's not what Romano Fenati needs, as we are, like I've already said, a third of the way through the year. He needs more than that. And I think maybe if anyone can challenge Joan Mir now, you're looking at John McPhee, you're looking at Fabio Di Gianantonio, who's moved up to 3rd in the series, or Andrea Migno. He's got momentum. We keep saying this thing, momentum. He's going now to another race. He's not having a weekend off. There's no 2-week break. He's straight in Catalonia off the back of a win. That momentum, that confidence that he will bring to Spain may well just turn into a win for him. And before you know it, he's already closing on Joan Mir.
Interesting to see how it all develops. And I was looking at the split times on the MotoGP website, and there was 7 tenths, about 7, just under 8 tenths of a second separating the top 9 riders in the race, which is not unusual in Moto3. It has to be said. I'm sure I've seen closer finishes than that, probably. But just underlines and emphasises again what Kiko said, in that it was a pretty good race.
It was incredible. Really was.
Championship in Moto3, and it's Mir leading on 108 points. No one else near him at the moment. Can anyone catch him?
Probably so, yeah. This is Moto3, like we say. I think he finished 7th or 8th or 9th maybe. It just takes another one of them. Don't forget, Catalonia has a huge front straight. It's massive down there. It's almost like a runway. So if you can get a good slipstream down there, then you could be 10th going into the first turn. It's difficult to pass in Catalonia. That's what makes it so exciting, because when you do get a pass, it's almost a bit shoulder to shoulder. Whether Mir's going to really lose this championship lead, I don't know. There's a lot of races left. There's 2/3 of the series left yet. We're going to have drama. We're going to have fireworks. We're going to have crashes. And hopefully, for fans and for journalists like me, we're going to get one that goes down to the wire, because that's what this sport needs. This is what this sport is all about. It's about a battle right to the end. We've been denied it for the last year. In 2016, we had a great one in 2015, though. Let's get it back to that 2015 when Danny Kent took on, or Miguel Oliveira took on Danny Kent. Let's try and have something like that, maybe with 2 or 3 bikes. Who knows?
Yes, indeed. And I would imagine certainly Moto3 doesn't really need that many more close finishes. It is kind of dramatic enough, and kind of always kind of has been for the past few years, certainly. But more action is we'll never say no to that, basically, will we? So more drama and such. Just having a quick look at some of the comments that have flooded in on our Facebook live stream. Hello to Freddie Hewitt, who's tuned in at the moment as well, and commenting about the cars that we were talking about earlier. They have 4 wheels, Kiko, by the way. And Thomas,
don't they have a steering wheel?
Ah, yes.
Oh, that old chestnut.
Kiko wins.
That's how I know about cars.
Anyway, yes, and a big hello to Thomas, who I presume is Polish. Sorry if you're not, but he's talking about Robert Kubica, who's making his Formula 1 return in a test, his first test since 6 years ago in Valencia in a 2012 spec Lotus. The reason I didn't want to make too much of a big deal out of that, Thomas, is because he's past it now. Let's be honest. Anyway, Formula 1 aside, because
we want to stick to the entertaining sports, Lester. The ones where actually get passes in the race.
There you go. Entertaining sports. What do you think of that?
I always sit on the fence. I'm never ever on one side or the other, as you can tell right now.
Why not? That's why you're here, basically. I mean, if Nothing wrong with opinions, certainly. So moving swiftly on, because I realise that we're getting quite close to the 2 hour mark, and not that we have a time limit on Tinternet, but you don't want to be hanging around watching a stream and people's attention spans and all that sort of stuff. So we'll move on from MotoGP over to TT, and you've been paying attention to the first few races that happened at weekend. Kiko, what happened at weekend?
Listen, Saturday or Sunday, the first race, it was mayhem. Honestly, I've never seen a TT race where there's been so many lead changes. We had Hickman leading, we had Hilly leading, we had Harrison leading, and finally, we had Ian Hutchinson leading. Took his 15th win at the mountain course. Surpasses Mike Hailwood now. He's something else. I spoke to him, and you speak to Ian Hutchinson, and he comes across the most unassuming, unlikely motorcycle racer there is. But he is something else. I was watching the highlights on ITV4, the one every night at 9 o'clock, watching them, and you know what? He's absolutely caning it. Every single part of that story. That sounds like an obvious thing to say, but he's a joy to watch with anyone, any motorcycle rider at the TT, when they are hitting them apexes, making it sing, that BMW sing, or whatever bike they're riding. Absolutely an inch out of line for Ian Hutchinson, and he's messy. He's just incredible to watch. Got to give a good shout out there. I was looking at my notes. Dunlop came back today. Michael Dunlop retired his Bennett Suzuki out of the race yesterday. Came back today. He said it was time to make a stand. He made a stand. He took the Supersport win. Ian Hutchinson's won the race for the last few years. So nice to see Michael Dunlop up there, and that's just created that little bit of rivalry. Hutchie on one, Dunlop on one. We're going to go into the Superstock TT tomorrow, and it's going to be side by side, I feel, for that. Peter Hickman took his first podium yesterday on the Smith's BMW. Smith's first podium as well at the TT. Their first TT. Great stuff from them. Harrison and Hillier. Harrison was a leader for most of the TT yesterday. Great stuff from him. The Supersport race today, like I say, went to Dunlop. Hutchie was only fifth in that, so momentum is with Dunlop coming into tomorrow's racing. Quick shout for Josh Brooks, has absolutely been flying on the Norton. Honestly, 7th and 8th for the Nortons. Dave O'Johnson coming back from injury, and Josh Brooks, I know very well, absolutely riding the knackers off that Norton. He's been on fire, and he looks good on the Supersport Honda as well. So all in all, the TT's been incredible. One point I would like to touch on now, and it's a point that I think a lot of us expected to make. The Honda, the new Fireblade SP2 is turning into be a nightmare. It really is. It's turning into be a bit of a disaster. I'm just looking at my notes. Guy Martin had a massive crash at Dorman's Bend yesterday. False neutral. A false neutral kicked in on the new Fireblade.
Yeah, he's not so happy with it, is he?
No, he got chucked off it. He's bruised his wrist. I thought it might be broken. He's had to pull out of the TT0 practice tonight to let it rest up. Guy Martin is struggling. Not him personally. That Honda is just not built for the TT yet. It's a bit soon. First year it's been out, of course, at the TT. They're lacking track time as it is. John McGuinness was out for the Northwest 200. They withdrew Guy Martin on safety grounds for the new Honda. So to even stick it on the TT course is a risk in the first place. But this isn't just the TT. Honda are struggling. Honda are really struggling. If you look at their World Superbike effort, Stefan Bradl isn't on it. Nicky Hayden struggled up until, obviously, his passing. Honda are really in the doldrums there. British Superbikes is the same. Jason O'Halloran is the only one being able to make that Honda work. For other reasons, I got a bit of a different setup to Dan Linfoot, his teammate, so they're struggling in British Superbikes. MotoGP, like I say, Mugello, they were 6th. That was their best race. You had a Honda rider in Danny Pedrosa bowling over Cal Crutchlow on the last lap, another Honda rider. Their front end is difficult on that bike. If you go back to the TT, Bruce Anstey had endless issues on the RCB MotoGP spec bike yesterday. The Honda team is struggling, and it's not just on 2 wheels either. This is the thing. It's not even on 2 wheels. That's the problem stay. You go over to Formula 1, McLaren Honda aren't making it work. The IndyCar is one of the only things they got. Graham Rahal doing a double at Belle Isle in Detroit this weekend. You know, he won it on Saturday, won it on Sunday. Takuma Sato winning the IndyCar 500. But even that wasn't without its problems. You had Charlie Kimball, you had Fernando Alonso, you had Hunter Ray all the time with blown engines. Honda, as a motorsport franchise, are really... I can't recall the title. Ducati, maybe, when they brought out the Panigale, which coincided with just a disastrous MotoGP campaign. But Honda, they need Marquez. If Marquez wasn't there, I personally don't think Honda would be doing anything special in MotoGP. I think, you know, it's almost scary. You know, that TT crash yesterday, it wasn't even a slow part of the circuit. We're talking, well, you don't want to come off anywhere at the TT, quite frankly. It's nowhere's going to be nice. You know, it looks nice when you fall off because you've got all that greenery. But
yeah, everyone does know it's a killer. It's a killer.
The TT can change lives and take lives. So for a Honda to be hitting a false neutral, that is scary. And Martin even looked dazed and not confused, dazed and almost shook up in the interview with ITV. He was not the Guy Martin of old. He was not the effervescent character that he is. It's sad to look at, really. He's come back from a year out to the TT with these high hopes that the Honda's going to do something well, and it doesn't. All it does is hit false neutral and chucks him off and up the road at 120 miles an hour on his backside. You know, that's not what he needs. That's not what any TT rider needs. And I think it's time that Honda really address what's going on. That bike was just, you know, John McGuinness doesn't crash, and the bike chucked him off at the Northwest. I'd be surprised if that bike is out of the senior TT. I really would. I don't think Guy Martin will want to ride it. I don't think Guy Martin's going to be in a state to ride it. I think that wrist injury might be a little bit more than what we're being told about. But Guy Martin, there is no shadow of a doubt, and there's no shadow of doubt about the team. That I've got to say, we're slagging Honda off. The team that Guy Martin has, the official factory team, are working well. Martin has said that. This is a bike issue. This is a big bike issue. And, you know, it's a bit embarrassing. This Fireblade was meant to replace the old Fireblade. It's not really done anything special for me. I don't think many riders are really happy with it. Told me the last time a Honda won at anything except MotoGP. It's been nowhere.
Are Honda bikes dangerous?
I don't think they're any more dangerous than any other bike, but I think what they're lacking is track time. The Red Bull Honda team in World Superbikes didn't get their bikes until the start of the year. You know, British Superbikes had a bit more time, and they are coming good. Like I say, Jason O'Halloran has found a setup that clearly works with him. The Isle of Man TT is a different kettle of fish. Road race on the whole is a different kettle of fish. They are lacking track time. They missed it massively with John McGuinness getting injured at the Northwest. They're missing it again, crashing out and not getting a full 6 laps in on the big superbike at the Isle of Man TT. I think Guy Martin knows that maybe things it's a bit soon. They'll come back next year, maybe regroup. I will be surprised, and I'll hold my hands up when I'm proven wrong for the senior TT if Guy Martin is out there. And I'll be surprised if Honda don't do a bit more investigating, because a false neutral at the TT just can't be happening. You know, it's meant to be a new bike. What's going on here?
Could it just be an isolated or a couple of unfortunate incidents, unfortunately timed?
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying that it's all Honda's. It's like a machine fault, which it is, but it could also just be a pure bit of bad luck, and that happens. You know, Guy Martin. You know, he says he's the fact that he's saying though the bike just isn't there. The Honda just isn't ready. He doesn't have the confidence with it. He's not slow. He isn't slow. It's just the bike. You know, I was speaking to Josh Brooks at Alton Park. You never ride the TT course at what you think you can do. You ride within yourself because the risk is so much greater. And you just get the feeling that, you know, how hard can this Honda push? You know, if it's hitting a false neutral, what if it had hit one at a different point in the circuit? It could have been terrible.
Yeah, I don't think about it, to be honest.
Exactly. It could have been terrible, but also it could have been a fact that what if he was battling with someone? What if he was catching someone on the road? It could have been a disaster. I'm not sure whether this is going to be a predominant issue with the Honda. Like we say, we saw the Bennett Suzuki of Michael Dunlop come out, retire out of the race yesterday. So it might just be an isolated incident. I hope that it is only an isolated incident. I'd hate for it to be an inherent problem with a new fire blade. I really would, because Honda are a brand and a half, really. Honda, you look everywhere. You've got HM Plant Honda here. You've got Javier Beltran's Honda set up over in BSB, merchandise the hell out of, really. And, you know, I'm hoping that it's not an issue with the bike inherently, but I'm also, for once, I am on the fence a little bit here. You know, I don't want it to be an inherent problem, but if it is an inherent problem, then bikes need to be taken off. They really do. It's dangerous. All bikes are dangerous, but you can't have false neutrals at the TT. You know, because the TT is dangerous enough without that happening. Guy Martin knows that from his previous experiences. The old Fireblade might be a safer option for now.
Well, I'm not going to offer any comment on that because I literally don't even know. And if I said either way, I'd be almost certainly wrong. And that I am right about. But yeah, so looking ahead then for the rest of the week, then Kiko, what is to come? What should we keep our eyes open for in particular, and whom?
Well, the TT, the Superstock race is tomorrow. That was won last year by Ian Hutchinson, and I think we're looking at another Hutchie Dunlop Classic. It's turning into a regular occurrence now at the TT. It's turning into a rivalry at the TT, and that's what the fans want. Whether they want Michael Dunlop or Ian Hutchinson is down to them, and I think it's pretty equal on both sides. I think watch out for Dean Harrison. He actually raced the Superbike TT with his Superstock engine, and they've run out of parts. So for him to even lead that shows that obviously he, as a rider, has got so much confidence, and the track time he would have had on the stock bike will also give him a lot of valuable data to work out for the Superstock race tomorrow. I think Peter Hickman could be a bit of a surprise throughout the week. I don't put it past him to even take a win, but a dark horse, and having spoken to a certain Tony Morris about this, Josh Brooks looks exceptional. Josh Brooks is pushing. Josh Brooks is wanting a podium. He is riding the wheels off the Jackson Racing Honda. And really, is it impossible for him to get a podium? No, it's not. The Supersport race happened today. He wasn't on the podium there, but he's got the track time. Josh Brooks can definitely make this work, and I really hope he does as well. It's good for the sport that a British Superbike champion has come over. The first British Superbike champion since Ian Simpson to go to the TT.
Well, we will wait and see what happens in those races. I was just looking. Sorry, I was just paying attention to while I'm talking. I shouldn't really. It's very rude. Sorry, Kiko. But I was just reading a couple of comments that flooded in to our Facebook.
While you're being rude, I'll have a quick drink.
You might as well, yes. Because thank you to everybody who has tuned in to this live stream this evening. All 5,000 plus.
Wow. 5,000
so far. Yeah, I don't know where the hell they came from. But
how many people did you pay last time? What's the budget?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I only paid for 2,000. I don't know where the other threes came from. I don't know.
Just buy and get one free or something. Who knows nowadays?
But yeah. And big hello to you if you're watching. We do this mostly every Monday night, live at 8. It's Monday Motorsport. It's Motorsport Radio. I'm Lester. I say we'll do this mostly every Monday night, but not next Monday night because we're having a night off. That's because next weekend, or this weekend, we will be the parent company of Motorsport Radio, Motorsport Media, will be covering live on social medias, live coverage on the Cool Fab Racing website of the 4th round of the 2017 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. They are coming live from Lincoln in Tattersall, and we will be there streaming the event, live radio coverage on Motorsport Radio and on the Cool Fab Racing Facebook page as well throughout the weekend, and on the Cool Fab Racing website, which is coolfabracing.com. And we will have we're going to be training a new sort of commentator. I say not training, but we're going to be sort of testing him out this weekend. Our usual commentator, Alex Raby, will be there, of course, but he'll be joined on the Saturday by none other than Kiko Alexander-Giles. Yes, he'll be making his commentary debut on the Cool Fab Racing.
And I am very much looking forward to it, I must say. These are the talent of the future. This is the mini bikes are where the British superbike champions of such like Bradley Ray, not a champion, but an established rider.
Champion of the future.
Exactly. He's there, and he's come through them ranks. This is a crucial series. There's a lot of fast kids in there as well.
Yeah, and the likes of Danny Kent and others that slip my mind as well. But there's a whole history. And in fact, I will go on the actual website right now, as I urge you to do as well, coolfabracing.com. Simple as that. And do like and subscribe to their Facebook page. So some really, really, really big names who have been through the mini bike championship, as it used to be called Fab Racing. It's now Cool Fab Racing with the Cool Milk sponsorship that have come on board and basically made it into the started a proper bike ladder into motor.
And with that,
PSP.
You've got the talent coming from there, arguably going into the British Talent Cup. You know, I don't know how old most of these riders are, but they will be looking. Now, Britain has got this kind of stepping stone ladder. Yeah. You go through the Cool Fab, you go Cool Fab, and then you fork off. Well, you fork off. Don't take that the wrong way. You either go left, and you might go to British Superbikes and work your way up to Motorstar and the Santander Cup, the KTM Cup, or you might go the other way. You might go up to the British Talent Cup, to the Junior World Championship, and then into the World Championship, and work your way up through there. There's loads of different routes, and I don't think that Britain has ever had so much support, and this is massive. It's brilliant. And you know, in a post-Brexit world, I don't want to bring politics into it, but in a post-Brexit world, we're going to be entering. This is giving so many opportunities for the young people.
Yeah, and it is fantastic to see a proper. I didn't realise before I got involved with providing live media coverage to it via Motorsport Media, that there wasn't the same, that just, it was inconceivable to me that there wasn't a structured, proper, orderly ladder system for young riders coming through, similar to what there is in go-karts, going up to single-seaters on their way to Formula One and other things. And that has now begun to happen with Cool Fab Racing, the British Mini Bikes Championship, and results are already starting to come through as some of the riders.
If you look at Italy and Spain, they are ground zero for producing some of the fastest motorcycle racers in the world. You know, Italy, Valentino Rossi came through from mini bikes, pocket bikes, started in go-karts originally, went to bikes, mini bikes, pocket bikes, not Junior World Championship, but a national Italian championship, world stage. You've got the CEV World Championship, which Tom Brooks commentates on. He used to do this. You know, he's definitely the CEV is not just for the Spanish riders, I must add. These are people, we've got people from Kazakhstan in there, like Makayachenko. You know, we've got people from all over the world coming in to do the Junior World Championship with the aspiration, with the vision, with the view of going up to the proper World Championship itself, which is great for representation across all countries, opens the sport up to more markets, gets more investment in, we become a healthier sport. Now with the British side of things, we're going to open ourselves up. Oh, where's he come from? Oh, he's come from the British Talent Cup. Well, where did he come from for that? Cool Fab. You know, people are going to start taking this thinking, Jesus, this is a serious thing going on. This is a serious stepping stone. But Spain and Italy have always had that. Just a little bit late to catch on, and that's fine. We're going to make it work. It's going to take time. Look at the Shell Asia Advanced Talent Cup, though, over in Malaysia. It follows the World Superbike Championship round, follows MotoGP around in Asia. Going to be impressive.
Yeah, and I'm quite impressed by your knowledge of Kazakhstan riders as well.
Oh, well, actually, Kazakhstan have got a bid going on, They've got a bid going on for the MotoGP round. Jorge Lorenzo went to the, what's it called? The Sokol track. The Sokol track?
The Sokol track.
Yeah, but I don't know what it's called. It's just a Sokol track.
Yeah.
It's SOKOL. Jorge Lorenzo is the ambassador for that circuit. It's in Almaty, which is the former capital of Kazakhstan, big business area. It's being built. They have the vision to try and do what Qatar's done with its MotoGP and create a destination. That's debatable whether it's done that or not, but Kazakhstan is coming up and it's on the map. There's a lot of circuits actually bidding to take a slot. Thailand is is a mention, and of course the circuit's already there. It's a proven success with World Superbikes. It's a massive fans' favourite for World Superbikes. 80,000 people there across the weekend. And also, again, we're going to bring politics into this. What has happened in Qatar this morning with the diplomatic fallout with other Gulf states might even throw the Qatari Grand Prix in jeopardy. I was going to do an article about that tonight, but I haven't actually had time. So keep your eyes peeled out for tomorrow. Whether the Qatari Grand Prix will be affected or not, I'm not so sure. But with difficulties in being cut out of the region, though, that might open up a slot. It is contracted to go all the way to 2027, I think. But of course, it's happened before. The Bahraini Grand Prix for Formula One, the riots out there in, I think, 2011.
It never actually affected anything. It was just that a couple of journalists got a bit scared. But
I thought the race was postponed and put on a later date. Was it not? Was it not meant to start the year or something like that?
Not really. It was that some of the protesters targeted the hotels of where the journalists and some of the people were staying, and that obviously drove the narrative that the F1 was in crisis at the time because all the journalists felt a bit picked on and blah blah blah. But it went ahead eventually, and there was no problem, and everyone was
I think though, it's the journalists being picked on with the Formula One Bahraini affair. He's not as serious as what places like, I don't know how true this is, Saudi Arabia. I do think we're straying too much in towards politics, though. Yeah. I see where this is going. No, but if you look at it and what they're being blamed for, you might get a lack of investment into the Qatari Grand Prix. It might become actually unsafe to go to Qatar. So therefore, there will be a slot coming in on the calendar. So who's going to take it? Will it be Thailand? Will it be Kazakhstan? Will it be somewhere else? Will it be South Africa? They've just upgraded Kyalami down there. Who knows? It is straining very far, but these issues are happening. They are happening in the world. We have to look at them. We have to analyse them. It probably won't come off the calendar. It's probably nothing at all. But it's a very delicate part of the world now. And with the cut of flights as well. Let's not forget, it's not just diplomatically. It's a flight thing as well. Are we going to be losing the Qatari Grand Prix in a couple of years? I very much doubt it myself. 99% sure it's going to stay. But there is the off chance that if these things escalate, if this geopolitical fallout turns to violence, the Qatari Grand Prix might be under threat. Doubt it. Could happen though.
I'm sure you will keep a beady eye on things, all things, the eco-political all that sort of stuff. By the way, for more of Kiko's musings and thoughts online, do check him out at the Pit Crew online. And what's your social media things again?
At MotoGP Kiko is my Twitter. Kiko Alexander Giles is my Facebook. If you're that bothered about looking at me and my lunatic dog, it's Kiko Giles on Instagram. Apart from that, there's nothing really that much more interesting about me. You can find me annoying people somewhere else, I suppose.
Very modest as ever in some ways. Kiko Alexander Giles. And there was just one other thing that I wanted to mention was the Wall of Fame as well that you can find on the Cool Fab Racing website, coolfabracing.com. Some of the names, and it's only, I'm not going to read them all out, but check it out, by the way. Some of the names that have come through this Cool Fab Racing Championship in the past are not limited to, but do include Scott Redding, Danny Kent, Brad Ray, as you said earlier, Kiko, Luke Hedger, Kyle Ryde, Fraser Rogers as well, who is still arguably a good prospect for the future. Also, as well, people racing in the Hell Motostar support bill as well have recently come through as recent as this year and last year, and are currently, some of them, still actually racing, doing the odd round in Cool Fab Racing. It's fantastic to see them. Cam Horsman was racing last year in Cool Fab. Some of the other names, let me have a quick look on the website. Max Cook, he's always a regular at Cool Fab.
Was Stacey in it?
Say again?
Storm Stacey, did he come through?
Possibly, meaning I'm not entirely sure.
Because he is a top runner.
Yeah.
the Moto3 Motorstar Championship at the moment. He really is up there. I don't know if he's come through, but he's definitely a prospect. He's only young as well. Makes me feel young alive.
They sort of all are, really, I suppose. And Jake Archer, that's the name I certainly remember.
Yeah, Jake Archer, top class rider. Great team this year as well.
Elliot Pinson as well, to name just a few as well. So these are literally the fruits of the Cool Fab Racing labour that have come through and are well on their way to becoming BSB stars, MotoGP stars, and maybe even by the time it gets back up to right up to where it should be, according to Kiko, World Superbike stars. Who knows? That's another debate for another time, though.
It's already happened, Leslie. I like your attempt. It's a very good attempt, I must admit.
Yeah.
You did very well to sneak that one in right at the
Anyway, but yes, so we will we'll drag Kiko back on the show as he's always welcome, because he knows what he's talking about, and that's ideal for me, because he fills in all the gaps in my knowledge where I arguably don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, you're more than welcome to come back and teach me. Basically, the general rule I go off, Kiko, is that anybody who can keep me engaged and entertained and make me sort of like participate in a very complex bike conversation, even talking about sort of things on the support bill for a good hour or so is well worth sort of having around. So and we'll have you around on Saturday as well for action and some of the races and some of the qualifying action for the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, which is this weekend. It's free entry if you're knocking about Lincolnshire area and you are wondering what to do, and you might even be looking at perhaps entering yourself, or perhaps even some of your kids. Some of the adults can ride as well, by the way. Then do check us out. It's at Tattershall or Tattershall. I don't know how it's pronounced. I've never been there before. And it will be absolutely fantastic. So, Kiko, thank you very much for coming on tonight's show. One final thing for us to do before we go, and that is catch up with John Provost, who I've been sort of stalking all weekend at Silverstone, and I caught up with him before his first outing, after qualifying, but before race one, after race one, and now we're going to hear from him at the end of the weekend. John Provost making his racing debut. You might think, so what, who cares? Lots of people make their first ever debut in racing, but he was kind enough to put the Motorsport Radio logo on his race suit, so I thought, well, we might as well just go and check him out and say thank you, at least with a bit of extra coverage. And that, kids, is how you get media coverage. Slap our logo all over your race suit or car or bike, and we will talk about you. Shameless plug, but sometimes it works like that. That's literally like that. So John Provost making his race debut as an existing motorsport marshal, part of the Orange Army, and also a clerk of the course in training, and that makes him, I wouldn't say a target, but certainly everybody's eyes were on him at the weekend, because you'd expect supremely good driving standards from someone who is a marshal and a clerk of the course in training. And let's catch up with what he had to say at the end of the weekend after race number 3. End of the weekend, back at Silverstone, I am with John Provost. John, you've enjoyed your first 3 races in your racing career. How was the weekend?
In the whole weekend, it was brilliant. Absolutely amazing fun. Brilliant fun to drive. Improved every session. Qualifying was a bit nerve-wracking at first. First time out with other cars, all the same, all close to you. Race 1, learning how to race. Then race 2 was getting a bit quicker. Getting a bit up there, but not a brilliant start, but it was a good race as well. And then third race, absolutely phenomenal battle between me and a few other cars, which I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, certainly. I can see right now that you were in a pack of like 3 or 4 cars, and in fact you were having changing places a number of times in race number 3. You certainly seem to be on the pace.
Yeah, pushing a lot more, trying to find good. With these cars, you're very fine line between pushing too much and being too smooth, and I think I'm getting closer and closer to that. I think hopefully another weekend I'll be up there even more, hopefully.
And compared to what you thought this weekend might have been, how has it compared, having actually done it now?
I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was, to be honest. The driving the car itself, it's mostly a road car, but you're just on the edge of it a bit more. The team prepared the car brilliantly, and it's flawless. And I think anyone joining it, it's one of the closest championships that I've ever seen. Not just at the front, but at the back, in the middle, everywhere. There's usually a pack everywhere having a battle, and it's phenomenal racing throughout. I think there are a lot of other championships sort of spread out a bit more early on, but this one seems because they're so similar, they're all really close together.
And you've certainly enjoyed throughout the weekend anyway, quite a lot of support from the LGBT motorsport community as well, being the one of only a rare handful of male gay racers racing this weekend. Of course there are some, but I think they like to keep it sort of under wraps and not shout about it too much. Did Danny Watts coming out a few months ago after his retirement have any effect on you? Did he have any sort of motivation for you to race more openly as a gay racer?
Partially, yeah. I think it put it into the media spotlight a bit more, which I think sort of opens up the everything for everyone in any class. But I think I would have said it anyway. To be honest, I've said it the whole life, so I might as well do it here as well.
And perhaps it could be an inspiration to other people as well who are perhaps afraid of being themselves and coming out and racing and being the person that they are. So I would say you serve an inspiration for that as well.
Yeah, I like to see that. I mean, it shouldn't be. I've had no comments over the weekend, nothing bad. I mean, it shouldn't be news. It's just part of it, sort of.
Yeah, you're right. It's not really news as such, but being one of the only few people who are racing out openly in 2017 right now, it's I would say noteworthy. Anyway, that aside, you finished 8th and 7th in your first ever racing weekend. How does that compare to your sort of dreams that you had of becoming a race driver now that you are a race driver?
Well, I think just fully enjoying the weekend has been the main thing, but having 8th, I think I improved each time. That was more than enough for me. I wasn't last, so I was like, I'm happy with that. No contact, nothing like that, so I'm very happy with that. And have a good race in the last one, just topped the weekend off completely. Any more races for you this year? Yep, hopefully Cadwell, potentially Knock Hill soon as well, but we'll have to look at that.
Fantastic stuff. And is there anyone that you'd like to thank for getting you here this weekend racing in your first ever debut race weekend?
Thanks, especially everyone at MSVR. They've all friendly banter over the weekend with me, and that's been brilliant. And Motorsport Radio for doing everything for me, and Advantage Motorsport, they've helped me a lot, not just getting here, but in the past years and years on.
How can people keep up to date with you on social media?
Provost Racing on Facebook and Instagram is the main places. I post there mostly all the time, so yeah.
Fantastic stuff. It was great to see you racing and living out your dream of finally becoming a race driver. And next step, I suppose, podium.
I hope so. I think it's not out of reach. I think it can take a while to get there, but I think a few more weekends in the car, I think that would really help to learn the car more and learn the racing more.
John Provost, well done. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
John speaking to me at the end of yesterday's events in the SsangYong pickup challenge racing in the UK, and that is, I would say, a hidden gem in British motorsport, something that you should probably check out, because it does seem to be, as I would probably say, absolutely fantastic. And it really is. I'm not joking when I say that. So we're a SsangYong Racing Challenge, and a big thank you to everybody who has watched tonight's stream. I have to sort of apologise for not talking about Formula 1 in so much depth. But if we did cover literally everything that I wanted to talk about, i.e. the touring cars in Croft this weekend, as Rob Walker wants to get involved, I'm sure he's got a hat full of opinions that he's about to pull out of. But Rob, you can still get in touch with us and make your thoughts known. I want to know, Rob Walker, who's tuned into our live stream, who's going to dominate this weekend. And Rob, have you found Plato? Anyway, but yeah, so touring cars was on. We touched about it briefly. RE Daniel Lloyd not being with MG anymore. Wonder who's going to take his spot. No news on that just yet, but that's an interesting one that we will keep our eye on. And also Formula 1 this weekend. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. That's because we had just so much other stuff to talk about, I suppose. Thank you so much to everybody who's been on the show, been part of the show tonight, including Connor Jackson from the Checkered Flag and your podcast host with the Slipstream Network. Yes. And also to Dan Marr, who has a logo, who has a name. His name is Dan, and he is a regular here on Motorsport Radio. Part of the family, you might say. Also to Ryan Forward, who is part of the flying the flag for Welsh Motorsport as well. He's making his debut this evening on Motorsport Radio. Thank you very much, Ryan, for coming on tonight's show. And to Kiko Alexander Giles, who's talked about everything from Moto 3, Moto 2, Cool Fab Racing, MotoGP, and the TT. Not bad. For a night's work. Plus we had the breaking news regarding the British GT Championship, and Adam Christodoulou is going to be making his return to British GT this weekend, and you can find out more about that by, I suppose, just rewinding back to where Dan Marr broke that bit of news. Not exactly breaking the news, but if you didn't know about it, then it's news to you. My name is Lester. This is Motorsport Radio. If you've just found us out for the first time, then hello and welcome. We do this pretty much every single Monday, live at 8 in the UK, and we talk about pretty much everything that happened over the weekend. I do try my best to talk about everything that happened at the weekend, but as you find out tonight, there's just so much stuff happening at the weekend, basically. And I have to say a huge special thank you to all the other people who came on tonight's show as well. All the people that I interviewed and had a chat with as well. Female racers, gay racers as well, riders, not bad. Anyway, join me again in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll be drip feeding some other content, some other fabulous content throughout the week and throughout next week as well here on Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. Thank you for tuning in. Give us a like, give us a share, give us your thoughts, and yeah, we'll certainly love to see you back here, same time, same place in a couple of weeks' time.
This is Monday Motorsport with Lester Forbes on Motorsport.
Hi, I'm Callan O'Keefe, and this is Motorsport Radio.
You can have it till you can't take no more.